Okay, so week one is in the books. What a wild start to Season of Discovery. And I tell you what, in all honesty, I haven't been this keen to discuss the game in fucking years, quite frankly. If the game has lit a fire under all of your asses as players, I can assure you that it's lit a fire under my ass as a podcast host. I'm really, really raring to go on a bunch of these topics. And the beauty of it is that, it's not just class topics that people necessarily want to dive into. There's a lot of design stuff going on under the hood with Season of Discovery that people have had really fun, really interesting, relatively mature conversations about, certainly in the Countdown to Classic Discord, about the way in which the devs have delivered this game to us and how they want us to go about earning things, how they want us to go about enjoying the world and engaging with PvP and everything. And we'll get through all of it. And believe me, you'll hear my relatively passionate thoughts about things at various stages through this discussion. So a bunch of people wanted to get involved. We had about 35 people sign up to the call. We'll see if they slowly start to trickle in. We've got 7 of us here to start. 7 callers. Let's introduce them all real quick. Galley Boy, what up?
Yo.
Hey, Tarayak, what's going on, man?
What's the crack, boys?
What's the crack? Zim, what's going on?
Not much, having beer.
That's the way. Shane Meta, how are you, mate?
How's it going?
Going good. Flex Luther, hey, man, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Very good. And Rolo, welcome back. Sucker for punishment.
Oh, yeah. Sipping tequila, enjoying life.
Oh, that's the way. And we've got Rob Fury. What's going on?
I'm great. I'm exhausted. Everyone's got so much energy, but I've been playing too much. I'm knackered.
That's all right. I'm pretty tired as well. It's been a big first week, believe me. So I think that's everyone. I think I said hello to Chain. That's everyone. If I didn't say hello to you, let me know, but we'll get stuck into it, guys. Look, I want to do a relatively weird opening to this because I know so many of you will be so keen to talk about, oh, Josh, you'll never guess what I did in the first week. I did this and did that and discovered this and discovered that. And this is how this class feels. And I got this loot and BFD and everything. But I actually don't want to start with that just now. I want to get into, like I said, some of these more interesting, meatier, not so much tangential conversations, but maybe they're a bit more on the side for many players. Who knows? And I personally am just gagging to talk about the Waylaid Supplies rep grind. Is it okay with you guys if we start off with that one?
Let's do it.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I think there's going to be, look, I think spicy is the wrong word, but I think there's going to be some takes on this one because people are so all over the place on how they feel about this relatively interesting. I think it's interesting. Some people disagree. Interesting new way in which to grind a new rep in Season of Discovery. If you guys don't know, basically there's a new faction, I guess, for the Horde. It's the Duratar supplies and whatever. You guys will know the name of it. You're supposed to grind out some rep, get to on it or whatever, and you'll get a nice fat rune behind that rep grind. You get rep by handing in these Waylaid Supplies craters that you find off of a low drop rate off random mobs in the world, and you either elect to fill it in, to hand it in unfilled, or to hand it in filled with trade goods. That's where the professions come in. They've spiced up, low, medium level professions again, gathering, crafting. It's something there for everyone. So I think it's definitely been an interesting idea. Like I said, I've enjoyed it, so I'm not going to have many negative things to say, but I will step in for the negative crowd if no one here is negative on it. So let me start maybe we'll start with the positive and then we'll turn to the negative. Who here is a fan of the system and why?
I am.
Hit me, Gally.
So at first I was not, because I was like, this is annoying. Right? They're unique. You can only have one at a time. It's kind of a pain in the ass. And then I thought, this gets us out in the world. This requires playing the game. And then you think, don't people want that when they talk about Classic? And now you have it.
Yeah, I have to follow up and say I agree. I'm absolutely loving just the monotony of it. Like when you go out and get one, do you have the materials on you or do you need to go get them? But it adds a little bit more flavor to it. And I really don't enjoy the rush to max level, but enjoy the journey. And this is exactly what it is. So it's just part of it that's just making it more enjoyable.
Okay. Let me just dive in on that quick point and then we'll get to the negative. Well, maybe that's a good segue into any of you on this call that aren't so crash hot on this new system. I really thought, like you said, Rollo, that this would be a bit more positively received than it has been. Now, don't get me wrong. The Waylaid supply system does have enjoyers out there, like you and Gally have just said. I'm a fellow enjoyer as well. But I feel like there's a relatively... I mean, maybe it's a bad read saying it's a 50-50 split. It might not be quite that, but it's somewhat of a 50-50 split on people who like it and don't. And we talk about, you know, who this game was for, and it's classic, but it's not. It's a remix. It's all that shit. They want to make it still feel like the classic world, though. And I'm a little bit taken aback at the amount of negative reception this system has got, because like you said, Rollo, this fucking bleeds classic to me. If you cut this system, fucking Onyxia plops out, you know, fucking AQ40 plops out. This is classic, baby. And it's been a really interesting, you know, quote unquote, new thing to deliver to a classic fan base, but also a fan base that might not be classic fans who have maybe dabbled in SOD from retail or whatnot. And I don't want to turn this into if you don't like this system, you're a retail person. That is not the case. It's really just not. But I just wonder sort of what mindset people are tackling this issue from, because I'll say this one last thing and then open up to the critics. I feel like I said in the Discord this morning, I feel like there are three types of critics, and if you don't like the system, you're not in the wrong or anything, but there are three types of criticisms that people generally fall into. And then the guys, you know, added a fourth, which I thought was interesting as well. There's the person who simply doesn't like this system because they can't finish it quickly. I really strongly disagree with this take. You're not in the wrong for feeling that. If you like to finish rep grinds quickly, hey, that's you. That's how you play MMOs. I just think that's antithetical to what is trying to be done here. But that's the first camp, the people who are like, I can't do this in a day and therefore it's fucked. Then there's the second camp of, look, I like the system, but don't lock meaningful runes behind it. That's fine. That's a fine argument. Then there's the third camp, which is sort of an offshoot of that, which is brought up that one was brought up in the Discord, but this one was my suggestion earlier of, I like the system, but don't lock any runes behind it. That's a third type of complainer. And then the fourth type of complainer was, look, the system is fine, but it's the format of the system. I don't mind spending time doing this. Yes, time-consuming rep grinds in Classic are a good thing. That's beautiful. I'm glad the team came up with this. But it's the format of the time consumption with all the travel back and forth. I'm not really playing the game. I'm sitting in a fucking cab half the rep grinds, and I'm not enjoying that. That's the fourth type of critique against this system. Having said all that, did any of those criticisms resonate with you other guys on the call who might not be so much in love with this system?
Yeah, I like the system, but I have my issues. I will say for a first shot out here in this first phase, it's great. But I think it could have used some movement, like instead of runes being unlocked at honored, I think unlocked at friendly on the first shot would have been great. It keeps that rep grind very minimal. You can get things still early, and it's a new discovery everybody gets to be excited for, instead of seeing, oh, well, I haven't touched those at all. I'm still 0-3000 neutral, and I need honored to get that, and I need that to raid. Oh, shit. That's something I think could have really used some changing around. Other than that, though, I think for like a first fire, and like this is like the first thing we see in phase 1, though, great system. I think it's a lot of fun, but I do think moving things around would have made it a little less, or created less friction amongst player base.
We'll continue on with that. Sorry for everyone watching on YouTube and everything. I know there was a giant echo just then for the first 5 minutes. I'm so sorry. I didn't change a setting. I've taken care of that now. All done. I hope that doesn't fucking obliterate the audio from the first 6-7 minutes of this podcast. But anyway, having said all that, anyone else in the critical side of this argument that wants to continue on with that argument?
For me personally, I think it's like I'm indifferent to the system, because I think there's like three main kind of like categories, right? There's people who actually like the rep grind. They like the whole kind of thing behind it. There's people who are like kind of like me, kind of like indifferent. They don't like it, but they don't necessarily hate it either. They're just kind of like, oh, like what do I do for DSI? Okay, right, yeah, I'll just do the rep grind. And then there's like a third camp of like people who hate it. But at the end of the day, like anything you've mentioned, Josh, I feel as though like it's growing pains. It's like, okay, yeah, okay, like we'll make them non-unique, or we can change, we can adjust this, we can maybe kind of add in a random drop thing for some of these runes that are crucial, let's say for tanking or whatever. But like anyone who's saying that they hate the system, I think it's kind of like they're switching the argument out because it's coming into it, like everyone was kind of thinking, oh, they're putting they're putting retail abilities into Classic, it's just going to be retail. But then when they got into it and like they pulled 2 mobs and they died.
Yeah, I was going to say, haven't a lot of those people shut the fuck up since the game came out, Tariak?
100%.
Their fucking silence is deafening, and I really wanted to go in on that on this podcast. I'm glad you fucking raised that. Keep going.
Yeah, because like I said, that was one thing that I said like multiple times to all the quote unquote doomers was like, it's going to be Wrath abilities, yeah, but it's still going to be classic pace. And that's why, like, as my kind of like general kind of consensus, and I don't want to jump the gun or whatever, is that like they've literally blown this out of proportion, blown this expectation out of the water. Because like I said, they've captured that original classic or World of Warcraft feeling where it's like you have that kind of like the world is dangerous. And you mentioned it on your kind of interview with the question perfectly, with the question of, is it going to be vertical gameplay or is it going to be horizontal? And just to kind of for the audience to explain that real quick, in terms of vertical, just think of like power spikes. That's what like so each like ability is just increasing your power, whereas horizontal is just a choice. So for example, instead of giving you an option between single target and AoE, they both do the same damage, or they both do kind of the top damage in those scenarios, but it's the choice of what you want to do. And when you look at the whole kind of aspect of all these people saying, like, they were kind of basically saying, oh, it's going to be retail, they're going to throw the WoW token in, all that kind of thing. And they got in, and the world is still the exact same. They increase the health, they increase the damage, and you're still afraid to pull that second mob. I'm like, you know, sending out health potions en masse to my rogues and the warriors because they're like, man, this is torture. This is fucking torture.
It's brutal on a rogue or a warrior. I played a warrior like the first week. It was fucking, I died a lot.
Yeah. And I could see, like, from your PvP video, I was like, there was a lot of, like, what's the word? You know, venting of frustrations, I could imagine. Because it's like, one of the guys that, like, I knew he got a brand new sword. He was all hype about it. He pulled the mob the same level as him. And he realized his sword skill was at 1. So he died that pull. So, like I said, it's still that kind of, like, vanilla feeling. But you have that kind of... It's like they brought everyone up to kind of, like, even playing field kind of thing. So, like I said, from a PvE point of view, 11 out of 10, stand ovation, boys, you know?
We'll keep going. Very well said, man. I'm glad we went down that tangent. I'll probably come back to that at some point. I'll just keep going on this Waylaid supplies thing and just remind everyone, by the way, if you do want to take part in this conversation, guys, you're more than welcome to put your hand up. I see a few people that are in the audience that might have wanted to get involved. Just click to grab your hand up and I'll pull you in here. Hey, Alenia, how you going, mate?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Very good. Let me turn you down. I've got you turned all the way up. Hey, I don't know what your take is on this one, Alenia. Have you been for or against the Waylaid supply system so far?
Oh, absolutely for. I love that they've brought in a whole new system and giving something to grind a little bit. I know people like to grumble about grinding in World of Warcraft, but we all do it. I'm really enjoying it. It's new. It's interesting. You know, it gives you something to, you know, work with professions, which I am very excited about. And I really like the idea that, you know, you're relying on other people having their professions up as well, so you can get materials to put them in. Like, I like that spirit of collaboration.
I think getting that sort of, you know, putting that kick up the bum for low-level profession stuff is really, really cool to me. Like, I got a box the other day, and the funny thing is that people still aren't there's fucking money to be made. People are not making and putting on the auction house some of the goods that these crates are requiring. I've had 2 so far, and fuck, I mean, you can tell me if I'm doing something wrong, but like, I got the one that was like 2 minor wizard oils, and I was, no worries, straight to the fucking town, straight to the fucking auction house. Nary a minor wizard oil on the fucking auction house. And I was like, well, that's a gap in the fucking market. And then I got another one. I wish I could remember what it was. I saw someone in chat going, can one of you cunts put some fucking brown, cloth pants or whatever on the auction house for these boxes? None of them were up. There's money to be made and people are sleeping on it. And I think that once people work out what all these things are that these boxes are going to be asking for, and they start making shit they never ordinarily would have made while leveling up their crafting professions, they're going to find a reason to get engaged and fucking, an alternate route to make some decent gold. So I think that that's a win in design. But I don't want to sound like I'm sucking it off too much, because I do totally get, and Ubiquitous was very, very good in the way that he worded his complaints against this system today, where he was in that camp that I described earlier. We was like, I don't mind grinding out a rep. I don't mind it taking fucking all the time in the world. Fuck, double the time it takes. I don't give a shit. It's the way in which they've done it. It's get a box, stop questing, go to town, spend the time on a flight, do your thing, check if it's on the auction house. Oh shit, it's not on the auction house. Throw out that box, catch a flight, go back to where I was questing, kill a few more mobs. He said the tedium of that just wasn't what he would term as fun. And that's a really a good piece of constructive criticism that I think... Go, Elenia.
I think that's fair. However, I'd like to put that in perspective. The game's been out for, a week? You talk about the tedium of the grind. Like, if you're getting what you want out of this system right now, after a week, you're just grinding it because you want it straight away. You don't need that rune right this very second. If you want it early and you grind for it, that's okay. But I feel like it's been designed that people can actually get that rep up fairly organically over a reasonable period of time.
I do. Oh, go ahead.
So what I was going to say real quick is, like she was saying, is the way like Gally and I took a stab at it is, the beginning and stuff, really unsure. And plus, the stop questing to go turn it in, we were like, that doesn't make any sense. So we just disregarded them. And then once you get into higher levels and you start getting comfortable, between running dungeons and stuff, from 1 to 14, those are the areas for, getting to friendly. And then from 15 up, those are the areas where you can get to honored. And at friendly, getting a 10 slot bag. And I think it's at honored, you get a 12 slot bag. Mm-hmm. Like, those are nice to have other than the rune. And plus, I can't think of another classic rep that you could farm this fast. Like, you can do it in a couple hours tops, from neutral to honored, just knocking those out and getting chests out. And plus, like you guys said with the professions and stuff, Gally literally like 2 hours ago asked me to make, copper short swords. And I can't remember another time in all my years of playing Classic, someone asking me to make something low level like that. So it was really cool. I was like, yeah, I switched over, made some copper short swords, and boom, he got rep.
Yeah, I think the initial thing, Rolo and I did a duo, not a strict duo leveling, but we leveled together. And at first we were like, what the hell are these? Like, you get the first drop and you're like, these weren't in the game, were they? Like, someone's messing with us. These were not a thing, right? This has to be a new thing. So then it's like, okay, and then you loot a chest and it's like, shit, I have one. Well, this one is for linen bandages and those are pretty easy to get, but this one is for Swift Thistle, so we're going to avoid that one, right? I'm going to toss out the one that's hard and take the one that's easy that, we can make real quick. So that was like, that was like an initial, like, holy shit discovery. This is cool. What is this? And then you find out, oh, it's tied to rep. Oh, it's tied. Runes are tied behind it. Now, I want to preface this by saying I lucked out. Shaman tank. I'm maining a shaman. I'm working on my alt shaman. By level 12, I had all 3 tank runes.
Smart man.
Lucked out. Super easy, right? There are some that are core to a class that are locked behind this rep. Does that feel bad if you're playing that? Probably. So I don't want to discredit that.
I think it's only if, like, you're demanding it to level, but like mine, for instance, for Warriors, single-minded Fury. Like, would that have been cool to level with? Absolutely. Was it a necessity? Not at all. And plus, it was a lot easier when I got up to the level, grabbed that, and it just made the class a little bit more. I started getting the good weapons. I started getting single-minded Fury. My runes started coming on board. And, like, again, I'm only 25, first weekend, and I'm starting to feel the class come alive, and that's what Classic is. You start to feel these things that, you got this rune, you start to feel it. You got this weapon. And you start to feel that, and that feels really good.
I just want to say a few things, and then I'll let you guys jump in. I might throw it to some people we haven't heard from as much just yet. But you know, some amazing points there coming not only over voice but in Discord chat as well. Alenia, I mean, fuck, you know, it's one of those things where they hated her, that you can do the whole, like, they hated her because she told the truth kind of thing, where you're like, you don't have to have these runes immediately. And you guys just, you know, Rollo, I think you just touched on that there and your point too. Like, the now, gimme, I deserve all this stuff as soon as I log in feeling amongst some of the players is something that's getting a massive kick in the ass right now. And I think that's a good thing where, you know, I now, there's going to be a caveat to this argument I'm making where, like, some of these runes, I agree, you don't get a birthright to. Like, if you want to do more DPS in a raid and you want this particular rune for your warrior or your fucking paladin or whatever, then put in a bit of fucking work to get it. And maybe by week three or four of the raid, you'll have it and then you'll be kicking ass. We'll get into, in the next point, the rogue tank and the warlock tank difference there, or, you know, crucial runes being locked behind the rep grind. We'll get to that in a second. But also, I think it's good that Ubiquitous is defending himself here, and he's quite right. He's like, guys, you know, the callers keep sort of harping on the time and the speed, and I know, like, it's a big part of the argument, but that's not his point. It's not about, you know, wanting this quicker. It's not about doing this faster. You know, we're not really touching on whether or not there are fixes that could be made to this system that just make it, you know, more fun, more engaging as a WoW Classic player as opposed to Taxi Simulator. So I'll sort of kick us off on that before I get to the next point, which will then segue into the Warlock meta rune discussion. You know, Blizzard brought out a change after, 3 or 4 days of the server, and we'll eventually talk about the amount of changes and the proactivity that Blizzard is showing with Season of Discovery, which is just out of this world at this point, and to be applauded, quite frankly. But 3 or 4 days into the server, they said, all right, cool. We're going to up how many Waylaid supplies boxes you can carry. But I believe it wasn't the... and sorry, you guys are right. I said throw out a box before. You don't have to throw out a box. Obviously, you can just turn it in unfilled. I get that. They upped the amount of filled boxes I think you can carry, but not unfilled boxes. Is that right? Someone will correct me.
Yeah, it's filled boxes you can carry unlimited, but the unfilled you can't. So it's like, unless you have the materials on you.
Right. And as was rightly pointed out, that's almost like a non-change, because the odds of you having the goods on you when you're out questing are almost nil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's happened to me once where I was able to fill and keep going.
Did you go and buy Did you go and buy a lottery ticket? Were you like, cha-ching, baby?
It was actually sick because I got medium leather. I had 14 on me, and I got another medium leather, and I went and skinned and filled that one up, and then I got another one that wasn't leather though. So I had 3 on me, 2 filled, 1 unfilled at a time. That only happened once though. But it was fucking awesome.
And with like alts and stuff, you can have these items because they're not very costly, especially when you're doing an alt and stuff. Just have them in the mailbox. Whatever you don't use, you can use for the next alt. You know, just having a mailbox, run to the mailbox real quick. Again, you may have to stop questing, but like I said, that's just what Classic is.
I'll throw this out there, and then I'm going to throw a question to Flex and Shane and Rob. But this one's for the crowd in general. Look, guys, if we put our game dev hats on, is there a way to make this system with the bones that we've got here more fun whilst retaining the grind?
I think just uncap the uniqueness of the boxes.
Yeah.
More supply officers around. Was an option being thrown out there as well that I've seen around the traps?
Yeah,
I'd like us to be able to carry more of those boxes. That would be good.
Yeah,
to carry more
maybe like a 3 limit on boxes, and then like having a supply officer at like major questing hubs, like, you know, Crossroads gets one, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Or if they did a gathering versus a crafting one, and you could have one of each. You know, you have your gathering supplies, which is herbs and leather and whatever. Then you have your crafted. That way, you could still have 2 at a time, and you know, that sounds
very classic.
Well, as Ubiquitous is saying, I think there's something there to, like, because as I said, you want to try and sort of somewhat retain the time sink, but increase the fun, which is a delicate balance. And he's saying, you know, with give must come take in a way as well, where that's probably a good start, where if we up the number of unfilled boxes that you can carry, but then, you know, that increases the time spent on, that decreases the time spent on the grind, unless we nerf the actual rep that you get per hand in, which some people might be okay with that. It's like, look, if I can have fun and just gather 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these things, have them in my bags, then go to town for one big, en masse hand in, but you nerf the rep I get from it, I've still had more fun than I was having before, and the time hasn't changed. Does that work for you guys as a workaround, or do you think there's an issue with that?
No, I think he makes a good point. Because already the rep is insane.
It might feel better to players, but I don't think it actually changes anything. Going back to your original question, I'd say I'm number 3. I don't think Essential Rune should be locked behind it.
Yeah.
But 24 hours after being 25, I had the rep done. And, but that's because I wanted to do it, right? I think one thing they might want to fix, I don't know if it's something possible, but the item restore. I item restored all my boxes and was 6,000 rep in, right? As soon as I hit 25.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah. Rob, you've raised the can of worms that I'm so glad you raised it. I was going there next, but it's come up organically, which is even better. And mates, I'm glad you've kind of thrown that out there, because Rob, it would be naive of people obviously not to realize that people have been doing this. Excuse me while I cough. All right. People have been using the item restore, whether you call it a workaround, whatever euphemistic term you want to, use. Some might call it, a form of cheating, however you define cheating. I wouldn't necessarily go that far. It's, some people do the old mate, it's in the game. It's, I'm able to do it. That's fucking Blizzard's problem, blah, blah, blah. That's, if you've done it, you've done it. But Blizzard did step in today and say no more. And again, very quick on the catch. I do wish this had happened a couple of days ago, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, where they've now made these boxes not turn up on the item restore page. So, gone are the days, the 1 week that people had to do this little trick, and now you'll actually have to do the proper grind. But Rob, on that, we'll start with you and we'll go to the other people, because you will, brace yourself, because you'll probably cop some flack on this, probably from me as well, mate. But I love you. Is this just, exploit early, exploit often? If you don't do it, you're a fucking loser kind of thing, or how did you tackle it?
I just thought it's the most efficient way, and maybe I'm min-maxing the fun out of the game, which naturally we all seem to do somehow. But I just saw it was an option. Didn't want to carry him, didn't want to run back while I was questing. I was like, I can just delete him, and then I'll just do it once I'm 25.
It's definitely something. So you jump in. Let me just say this one thing, and then Rob, I'll say I'm very forthright with people, rather than sort of saying the things behind their backs. But the word that I've attached to this over the last 48 hours, Rob, the one word that I've felt encapsulated it best, and this isn't a personal dig, but it's the word lame, where I've gone it feels so lame that you can do this. And like you say, players will I don't blame players for necessarily doing what they can do. If it's an available option, people will take it. I completely realize that. But it still feels like the lame option. It doesn't make you a bad person, but as you've acknowledged, maybe at the sacrifice of a bit more engagement with the game. Did you feel that a bit when you were doing it?
Oh, 100%. I did not feel proud or great about it. It was just this is the efficient way. On my ult, I'm already deleting boxes, so good to know that doesn't work. But the actual back and forth to Stone Talon, which I did for the last 4,000 rep, was way more fun. Sneaking around, watching people die as they try to get chests, and then you take it instead. And, that was way more fun than just item restoring and running back and forth from the auction house and stuff. So, yeah, it definitely is lame. So it's a good change.
I feel bad. I'm not trying to sorry to say, Rollo. I'm not trying to bully you into feeling guilty, mate. It's just more a talking point than anything. Hopefully you know where I'm coming from on this one, Rob. Sorry, Rollo, go for it, mate.
See, I'm saying it's lame, but that's on Blizz. How are you not testing this stuff?
Yeah.
How are you not thinking about it?
And that's why I say it should have been taken off a couple of days ago.
So I think on the player side, that's clever. It's there. It worked. I don't think it's anything negative. I mean, you can say it's lame, but I think that comes down on the Blizzard. How do they not think about that?
Yeah, item restoration's been a thing for
Comes down
years.
to how
They should
big
have
the
realized.
QA team is.
Item
That is
restoration's
true.
always funky.
Every little thing that the players are going to do to min-max, I think it's a bit wild to assume that they're going to think of every little thing, because no matter what, the players are always going to find some type of loophole, no matter what Blizzard does, no matter how many people they have on the team.
Zim, I'll need you to get a bit closer to the mic, mate, if that's okay. I did catch all that, though. Tariak, sorry, you going to say something? Nope.
Yeah, just like just to kind of push back on the whole kind of like why haven't they kind of gotten on this is like it's the reason why we're like level capped at 25 at the moment. Is like they want to take things slow. They want to kind of see the user behavior, see what we're doing, see what we'll kind of like quote unquote exploit, depending on what way you look at it. So like I said, there's going to be growing pains either way, because there's new systems, all that kind of stuff. Like we've seen with the mages and the hunter nurse and all that kind of thing. But I think as a kind of system overall, it's definitely something they should kind of like look at. It's like the fact that players are resorting to that. Maybe like I said, kind of like open up the space, put it at cap 5 kind of thing, and then kind of go on there from the future. But to tie back to, I think she left the call. Oh no, sorry, you're still here, Lenya. Where she kind of like brought up the point where it ties into the elements of the economy, and it's kind of like it naturally sinks in, because it's very easy just to throw a new item in the game and say, oh yeah, farm that, and that's how we're going to do it. But it was specifically it's like tied into like actual creatures you find in the thing. It's like quest mobs. It's like, and like I said, it kind of you feel the economy alive and all that kind of shit now as well.
I always go with, and this isn't necessarily a popular thing to say, but I always go with attributing blame both ways, where I go, yeah, Blizzard should have been on this, but also the player has to want to be cheeky as well as Blizzard being able to stop them from being cheeky. So, yeah. Hey, let's go to the next. I don't want to talk about this all night, but we've done really, really well. Obviously, the next point of this before we move on is locking critical runes behind this rep grind, and the rogues are screaming out right now, going, when are you going to fucking talk about us and this tanking rune? This was bullshit, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's all well and good if some classes have a bit of power locked behind the rep grind. We had one of our fucking roles locked behind it, which was annoying that we had to put in all this time to get a crucial role unlocked for us. And then we'll talk about warlocks after this, and we'll get there. I might throw it to the guys who haven't heard from as much, if that's okay. Flex Luther, if I can just sort of, feel free to pass, by the way, no pressure. But if I can ask you if you've got any takes on this from the get-go on, do you think it was a mistake locking a critical rune that has a new role attached to it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They knew from the jump that things like tanking rogues or, you know, all of these crazy game-changing runes, they knew from the jump, this is what people were rolling characters for, this is what people wanted to try. Those should have been the easier runes to find in a way, or like the outer world runes that you could easily get to. You know, but if they had locked like Paladin Rebuke behind it, no big deal. But if you're gonna lock things like Rogue Tank behind it, that's awful. That feels really bad, and especially the average player isn't restoring their boxes. They're not exploiting. They're just playing the game. They're not gonna know. They're not gonna do all of that. So then it feels really, really bad when you get in and you're like, oh, I've got to go out and I've got to farm 35 boxes before I can even, start picking up my tank class. This feels bad.
Hey, Sig, can I throw it to you, man? Welcome back, our boy from Boston. How are you?
What's going on?
What's going on, brother?
Not much. I think definitely it was a big kick in the dick to put anything behind the rune system. I mean, luckily, I said I was going to play a druid initially, ended up rolling with a paladin. So the one that's hidden behind for me is not really something that I'm going out of my way to get. But like Flex was just saying, the fact that you have a rune locking a specific, class out of, the big hype, like rogue tanks, the warlock tanks, like you said, people literally rolled those kinds of characters in order to be able to play them with the expectations that come at some point in the game they were going to get, and they still will, but locking it behind something like that, I think, has just ruined it for some people.
I think the
go.
The traditional tank, like, I think locking the the classes that don't traditionally tank, and I don't know if the mage heal ones, if those are a pain in the ass to get, so forgive me if they're super easy. But the classes that traditionally couldn't tank and are getting new roles, I kind of like, again, I don't play them, I kind of like that you have to go out of your way to get them. It's like, this is something you couldn't do in Classic, okay? You could tank dungeons as Classic, or as a shaman in Classic. It's not the best, but you could do it, right? Their runes are pretty easy to get. You could not tank as a rogue, so you kind of have to work for it.
I understand that point. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Rogue was capable of tanking. Obviously, with a certain amount of gear, they could hit dodge cap, and they was capable. It was unrealistic, but it's no different than the Shaman. Like, the Shaman was not very good for tanking whatsoever, but it was possible, but it was super easy to get.
So is this specifically just talking about the rep grind one?
Yeah, just we'll get to Warlocks after this.
So the Flesh Rune one, because it's from the Rune, you only need 18 completed ones, and I think most of the time we're starting to tank RFC around 14, 15. At 15, you're able to start getting the boxes to turn in for to go from friendly to honored. I kind of just see that as you open it up. If you're wanting to tank and stuff, at 15 you can start getting those, start turning them in, and then you get them faster. So it's not like they had to wait till 25 to do it. They could have started farming at 15, 16 if that's the direction they wanted to go. The Warlock one, of course, is completely different and completely messed up. But I think this would have been easier to obtain if that's the route you wanted to go.
I would say that's easier because we have the foresight. We know where these runes are now. But at the time, we didn't know where anything was.
I think that's the whole point of it, though, the season discovery, to find this stuff.
Let me add. Yeah. Sorry, you go, Zeke.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so I guess to that point where, like Flex was saying, we didn't know where anything was. So people coming in with the expectations, I think Blizzard kind of dropped the ball with multiple specs, even to that. Because, I mean, I know you said you're going to talk about the Warlock after, but even to the fact of, Paladin, right? You got to go and fight skull-level mobs in order to get runes like Divine Storm. And I mean, there's a lot of people that, don't have, the solo player, the average player that comes on is probably never going to obtain that rune unless, maybe they have anxiety grouping with people they don't know or whatever the case might be. It kind of kills the game for those people because who is walking out to a skull mob out in the middle of Ashenvale somewhere thinking they're going to get something? So it not even so much not knowing where the rogue rune is. I think with other classes, they could have made some of the questing a little more obtainable to, I don't know, maybe like an average player.
I'm personally less offended by. I'm trying to think of how to word this correctly. I'm less offended by hey, this is an epic fucking quest or an epic discovery. If you want this really sick ability, you better fucking be prepared to put in some work for it. I'm not as offended as some people by that, but I'll say this. I'm more offended as a salesman in regards to the rogue tanking rune and the metamorphosis rune. And I'll explain what I mean by that in that, don't get me wrong, Season of Discovery is not suffering monetarily. I'm sure it's driven a shitload of hype and attention and subs towards the game. I'm sure it is everything the launch and more that the Classic team wanted out of this. This has been a fucking, not only a critical hit, but I've no doubt a financial hit for the team. And it's been great, it's something to be celebrated. But I do think there's almost a little bit of a sales and marketing dropping of the ball where you do want those as many players as you can get, and you want them to fall for this game fast, and you want them to fall for this game fucking, early. And two of the big selling points, two of the new things we got were tanking rogues and tanking warlocks. And a lot of people went, oh, tanking warlock, oh, tanking rogue, that's fucking sick. They were creaming more over that than Divine Storm for paladins. And I don't think it necessarily should have been log in, hit level 2 and get it given to you. But to make it either the last rune you get or the hardest rune to get, I do think was a fault in that people were cracking the shits, and I don't necessarily think they walked away from the game, but I would have just been shoving this product down their throats immediately, going, oh, you hit level 10, walk over there and get your Warlock tanking rune. Oh, thanks, mate. Now I can do fucking Dead Mines. Now I can do fucking, SFK as a Warlock tank and get a feel for it. Sell them on the game early. That's literally one of your selling points.
I'm gonna disagree as someone that has a career in sales.
Okay.
I think what they've done here has actually been quite clever in that gating some of this content so people have to fight towards it creates that scarcity and that demand. People want what they can't have. And I think from a marketing perspective, I mean, let's face it, World of Warcraft players, they love to complain. So
we do?
What?
This is news to me.
It's a successful model for people, been a successful model so far. I think that, the complaining creates a lot of attention. And let's face it, even if you weren't playing some of the classes that had gated content, you'd know all about it by now because everyone's just being
Oh, I like this. Wait. So you going with the this is not a take I've heard. Let's push you a bit on this, Alenia, because I like it. Are you saying this is some 4D chess going on where they knew it would drive? Well, actually, no. Sorry, let me take that back, because the Warlock rune not being in the game, not being discovered, was a mistake. It turned out they didn't actually put it in the game right accidentally for the first few days. So whether it's some sort of like artificial PR chat, or we can't find this rune, the mythical Warlock tanking rune and all the buzz it generates, are you saying that there could have been an argument for a bit of cheekiness on that?
I absolutely. I mean, if I was involved in that group, I absolutely would have considered that. 100%.
I mean, now that you say it, in hindsight, I would have done. You've completely flipped me on my argument. I think that's brilliant, and I would have done that from a marketing perspective. But let me just read something, guys. Just going back to clean up a point about the Waylaid suppliers. It's fair to, we've got the amazing fucking Tim Jones here. I don't know why I call him fucking Tim Jones. He's the amazing Tim Jones here in chat listening along, who just clarified with this. He said, just to defend our designers and QA team, the Waylaid supplies were indeed flagged as no item restore before the season launched. We had thought of this beforehand. There were some technical issues that prevented that flag from working properly, which is why it took some time to sort out until today. It's not always just us being stupid. So that's interesting to hear that they actually did have that covered off. But it seems like there are a few, and this is fine, we sort of readied ourselves for this. There are a few technical issues popping up with the game. Things that they thought had been done that didn't actually go through on execution. But, the team is getting all over this stuff pretty quick. So I thought that was pretty interesting to hear that they actually did know about this, and it unfortunately didn't go through. But let me think. Back to what we were talking about with the rogue tanking rune. Anyone else, please do shout out on how you feel about whether or not these, role runes like Warlock tanking, rogue tanking should have been, difficult to get or not.
Can I just
Okay, wait. Let's go one by one. Sorry, Tariak, you go.
Yeah, go. Oh, me first. Okay, yeah, sorry. Just to kind of like push back on the whole kind of like thing of like, I wanted the rogue tank so bad. What would have been the perspective from the player base if they made it very easily available? And as we know, not only do rogues have no cleave, but they lose all the combos when they switch targets, and then they're looking at rogue tanks literally having to pull one by one, compared to paladin tanks and mages being able to pull the whole room, and then the mages keeping the paladin up. The mage is doing top damage and healing, and the paladin's doing second top damage in the group. And then they're like, the whole player base is like, oh, rogue tanks are shit, so then no one wants to play them. Do you know what I mean? Whereas at least when you tie it behind it, it's like only the dedicated rogues who actually want to play rogue tank then get the rune, and then they're prepared because they're more dedicated. That's my perspective on it. But like I said, I can definitely understand like people who would have been hyped behind it, and then they're like, oh, I have to do this rep grind. But if everyone has to do the rep grind, like Sig brought up the point as well, it's like we had to go kill level 30 mobs. Do you know what I mean? So it's literally like you have to like physically tank a mob for the group to do it. But like obviously like there's the caveat where you get a raid of like 40 paladins marching through Ashenvale. You know what I mean? Which also is kind of like a crusade, which is kind of like the class fantasy too. So like I said, it's kind of, at the moment, I feel as though it's just growing pains, and then when we look back on it, it's actually going to be like that nostalgic thing,
I think you're onto something. This gives the rogues an out when they don't want to tank. Oh, hey, can you tank this dungeon? Oh, dude, it's locked behind the rep. I never did it. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'll be honest, but I've run with somebody that's a rogue tank, and I mean, again, like you said, no target points on. No combo points on swapping, but single target damage. Like you're talking about mages doing top healing and damage at the same time. But if you run with a tank rogue that's decent, like I've played with, I mean, they are doing well over 100 DPS and not being touched in raid.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, guys, let's get on to. We'll get on to the Warlock thing, and I'll just lead you in with. Like I said, we talked about the marketing perspective there, where I was kind of like, from a sales or marketing perspective, I think they should have thrown them in there earlier, but then Alenia changed my mind on that, which is great. But as I sort of hinted at, I'm happy to be told that I'm the fuckwit here, as I usually am. But from a player's perspective, I wasn't anywhere near as offended by these super powerful or super important runes being locked behind epic or difficult quest chains. That, to me, felt very classic. Now, yes, it sucks, and obviously, I'm not playing a Warlock, where I wasn't until yesterday. I'm not playing a Warlock. I'm not playing a Rogue. So, what do I care? That's easy to say. But I thought it was really cool what they actually did for the Warlock tanking rune, even though they've changed it since. People had a massive issue with locking it behind a raid, but I think that there's, I don't know, I just, something still felt really cool about it to me. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of very powerful things in Classic, in Vanilla, that are locked behind raids or locked behind shit RNG that you won't get for a long time or whatnot. And please feel free to come at me on this one, guys. I don't want people disagreeing with me just because I'm the fucking host. Come in hard on me. But I'm like, I've noticed the contrast between people complaining about, let's talk about Metamorphosis in particular now and getting a rune behind a raid. I've noticed people complaining about the Metamorphosis thing when they don't complain about some of the fucking ridiculous hoops we have to jump through in vanilla for stuff. Why the difference?
The difference is that it's a new thing, so people think it should be easy.
Right.
Because Blizzard's whole design mentality has changed. When the whole premise of this was vanilla, people have forgotten that. They just want the new thing.
I agree with Flex, and if I can add on to that, I feel like people are just becoming too habituated to pressing the button and getting gear, and they're forgetting that it's meant to be a role-playing game. We're supposed to be burying ourselves in the world and enjoying the epicness of some of these quest chains and the lore. And when you just turn it into a button-pushing exercise, you miss out on that.
It was interesting that the Classic team came out and said, okay, they fell on their sword in regards to this one. They sort of did a bit of a mea culpa and said, look, okay, we fucked up. This is via a Grant on Twitter who said, we fucked up. I'm paraphrasing here. It was bad of us to lock this behind a raid. We're going to change that and make it more accessible. We won't do that again next time. We broke one of our own rules with this. Maybe they got sort of a bit infatuated with the limelight behind the Metamorphosis, ability or whatnot. But even though they have still said that was a mistake, we don't do it again, I still thought it was cool. I feel like a bad person for saying this. I still thought it was cool.
It was cool.
I think it still is cool. Can you hear me, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Pig.
Hey, how's it going? Actually, last time I was on was my first time speaking, so I just wanted to...
No, you're all good. Keep going, brother.
I think it's a big mistake that they're stepping back on this. I think it's iconic that, the Metamorphosis rune is basically kind of the face of this little expansion or season, if you call it that. And in a month, we won't really recall. It's just people who want things now. Right. And if there is a phase 2 with a raid where you have to get something, that's great. It's still not even a week, or it's a week as of right this second. and we got warlock tanks already. They're active. They're running around, and this might sound gatekeepy, but I hope that they continue to make things hard to get, so it'll filter out the people who are here for the 1 week thing and then they drop the game like the new toy that their parents bought. I want people who like classic for classic and like the slow burn the epic quests.
Rollo, let me throw it to you, and I'll just add to piggybacking off of what Pig just said. I'm with you, Pig. I'm against you, Pig, in that you thought people would forget about this. I think one of the amazing things is I think people will never forget those first 3 days when the hunt for red metamorphosis was underway. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's one of those events that goes down in WoW lore, if you will, in player lore.
Right, but they don't forget in the good way. Yeah, a lot of people are going to say that was epic. That was awesome.
Well, and I super agree with that, because I think it's weird for a rogue to tank, and it's weird for a warlock to tank. And if it's weird, then you got to do some weird shit to be able to do it. And I think that's kind of good and kind of cool. And I don't think that should just be dropped in your lap. That kind of sucks.
Very good. Hey, sorry, Beaver, that's my fault for not introducing you earlier. I'm so sorry, mate. How are you?
I'm doing good. First time, long time. Good to be here.
No, I appreciate you being here. And please, everyone, do as Beaver did. If you got something to say, just fucking get in there and do it. Rollo, you were going to say something before, mate. What was that?
No, I was just agreeing that I think it needs to be iconic. Not everything's going to be handed to everybody. And like seeing the warlocks and the paladins, go and do these epic quests for these items, I'm like, that's amazing. I'm being a warrior main. I'm just thinking down the line, like, wow, I hope my class gets something like that. To where I got, it's an MMO. We're going to get a group of friends and just, go do this thing, but something to look forward to that's that iconic. Like the Divine Storm chain and the Warlock tanking, like that just looked cool. It looked amazing.
It is. I mean, I think they did a really good job with the quest lines themselves. Like I said, as playing a paladin, like having to go to Ashenvale and destroy something using, Manarot's, polearm that was broken, where Gramash Hellscream was killed, that brings back like the fanboy, vibe of classic. Like I loved that story. So interacting with it's great. It's just, I guess the point I was making is I'm fine with something being difficult or maybe even gated is fine. It's, I guess, again, a lot of us play with a lot of friends, but the average person wouldn't be able to obtain it by themselves. You know what I mean?
It's like, do you make the game or these quests around those, or the fact that it's an MMO and it's about creating a community?
Yeah, no, I get it, and I totally love the idea that you needed a giant group, to do it. I've just, some of the complaints I've heard is people saying I can't get here, or when you have large groups trying to do for the Warlock quest going up the tower or something to click the orb, basically people get theirs and then take off, and then there's always some poor soul that's stuck or left or killed, or
I think that's just going to happen with week 1. I mean, I think it's just, I don't know. I don't see the issues. I think this is amazing.
I think the issue. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
No. So Gally, then Alenia, then I'll jump in.
I think that the big issue with the Metamorphosis rune being tied to the raid, and I think Agran mentioned this, was that it's going to feel bad for the future, right? Someone who joins later, the level band is 40. Are you going to be able to find people in that level range to go do the raid with you? And I think that was the issue, was looking to the future.
That's a fair point.
So maybe they should have did the change after this phase, but I saw no issue having it locked behind the raid.
That's a very fair point, though, in terms of looking to the future. Alenia, you were going to say something?
I feel like, in a way, this is kind of a little bit of a much-needed detox for people coming into Classic, especially with the number of people we've had coming in from Wrath, which honestly I don't really class as Classic anymore, and Retail. To just slow down a little bit and find other people to group up with to do this content. I feel like that's always been one of the strengths of Classic, that it does encourage you and push you to actually go and talk to people around you and within the community. And I mean, that's one of the ways that we make friends in the game. and that's half the enjoyment of actually playing it. If you really get hung up on the whole, I can't do this whole chain by myself, therefore it's bad design, I think you're missing the point.
I'm kind of like, I'm weirdly split on it, but it's the, I like to play this game alone because I'm a fuckwit part of me versus the, you know, maybe good old school game design is promoting social interaction part of me. And like, you know, I literally have a story from yesterday in regards to this, even though it's on a much smaller scale. You know, if you guys are familiar, in Terrace Fall Glades, there's a Frozen Murloc, and I think there's one in Durotar as well that, you know, if you're a Warlock, or maybe there's a Mage rune there as well, if you want your Chaos Bolt rune, you've got to go and fucking hit this thing with fire, and you've got to hit it with fire from multiple people. You can't just solo this thing. So I'm standing there staring at this Frozen Murloc, and I'm like, fuck. You know, this is yesterday, so like not many people are running around with level, you know, 5 characters or whatever. And I was like, fuck, I'll have to come back and do this thing. And then this mage just runs by me, just going towards Brill. And I yelled out at him, whoa, buddy, mate, whoa, can I fucking stop right there? Can I steal you for 1 second? And he turns around and goes, what do you want, fuckface? And he didn't actually say that, but, you know, he was very polite. And he goes, how can I help you, mate? And I go, well, look, mate, there's this fucking Murloc standing right there. I don't know if you know about this thing, but can we just fucking tag team this thing for a bit so I can get my rune? Yeah, mate, no fucking worries. Here we go. Let's hammer it. And he plugs away. And I don't know what was going on. My Incinerate was doing nothing, but his Fireball was doing something. I don't know if that's something Blizzard's, like, if that's intended or whatnot. But anyway, this guy basically did wind up weirdly soloing it, I think. And I got my rune and I said, mate, thank you so much for stopping and doing that with me. I really appreciate it. And he goes, mate, fucking relax. No dramas. Have a good one, brother. And he went off. And look, I didn't go off and fucking become best friends with this guy and have him be best man at my wedding or anything, but fuck, it could have happened. You know what I mean? So like, I'm just saying, like, I get it why they put these things in the game. Yes, there is a small part of me that's like, I fucking wish I could have just soloed that, but like, I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been that guy running around in Red Ridge and seeing, like, you know, a group of warlocks and mages standing at the bottom of this tower, and I'm just trying to get pendants, and they're like, hey, you know, can you help us out? And I can't tell you how many times I've died going up that tower to help people. Like, I don't even want to quest over there because it's like they see anybody with armor and it's immediate, like, help. So I've helped enough to know not to go near that tower.
All right, guys, we might move on, or we're never going to get through everything. Let's talk Ashenvale. Unless, has anyone got anything left to say on supplies, warlock runes, rogue runes? I should throw in for Mike, who's tagging me saying, Josh, it's not that I'm upset that they made the rogue tanking rune hard to get. I'm upset that they put it behind a fucking boring rep grind. That's a fair point, Mike. Totally fair to throw that out there. Any last points before we move on to Ashenvale? Anyone?
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
This relates to the Waylaid supplies. I actually did farm up to Honored, and I will tell you right now, it wasn't for a rune that I'm even using. I just wanted to do it, just because I like that kind of shit. But now, every time I get one of those fucking crates while I'm questing, it's completely useless. And I'm like, why did I burn through it? Now I'm just gonna delete this. There's literally no point for me. I mean, what, 15 silver, right? It's now, so that sucks.
So you're advocating for a slower burn?
We've got 3 more gates.
Gally, you saying you wish you took your time with it a bit more?
Yeah.
I
wish I would have. And again, this is a rune that I don't use. I mean, I've learned it, and I bought it, and I learned it, but I don't use it. But now that, because, you know, you get a bunch of gold while questing, so I'm still out in the world questing on my main, and it's like, oh, I get one of these, oh, toss it.
All right.
They stop giving rep after a certain point. So it's, I mean, like I said, yeah, I could turn it in and get a little bit of cash. I could stimulate the economy, but, you know, it's essentially useless, right?
Literally the economic stimulus package. I love it.
Right.
Hey, let's move on to Ashenvale, everyone. And just a reminder, everyone in the Discord crowd, if you want to join in, just right-click your profile picture, put your hand up, you can join us all. Let's talk Ashenvale. And this is a really interesting one, given how active the team has been on this. And Look, I just want to say, I want to give you guys a little bit of a preamble before we get into this. I've been very positive on Season of Discovery for, since the minute it was announced pretty much. And, I've had people come out and say, you're a fucking shill. You've changed, man. Why are you being so fucking, you've got your tongue surgically fucking attached to the devs' assholes. What's going on here? I really have made it a point, and I'll say it again, I know it's annoying every time I say it, but I've made it a point on the podcast to be like, look, I hammered the fucking Classic team for years on fucking a lot of issues, some justifiably, some unjustifiably. But if you don't slather them with praise in the areas where it's deserved, then when I give them the harsh criticism where that's deserved, it'll mean nothing. So I'm going to keep praising the points that deserve praising, and Ashenvale's a really interesting one where for all, by all reviews, and I've barely engaged with Ashenvale, so you guys will know more about it than me. I've spent all of 3 or 4 hours in there in the quote unquote now old Ashenvale that everyone was saying was shit. But everyone was pumped up for this brand new World PvP event, Ashenvale. It's going to be wild. It's going to be great. It got delivered to us, and everyone came back immediately with the reviews saying this is shit. There's just no mincing words here. This is not fun. It's shit. I can't get rep from doing fucking anything. This is just a waste of my time, and it's a shame that this was the design. It's not doing anything for me. Within days of release, and I'm going to make a point that I really want to underline here. Within days of release, the Classic team jumped on this and said, you know what, you're fucking right, it is shit. Well, again, I'm paraphrasing, they didn't quite say that, but you know what I mean. We're going to change some things and we're going to get on this. And they changed, they got in the guts of it, and they've started changing things really quickly. Like I said, I'm recording this on day 8 of Season of Discovery. By day 5, we got told changes were coming. By day 7, changes were implemented. By day 8, more changes were implemented. And we're getting told more changes are coming by day 10. They're fucking on this shit. And I love to see it. And it's so funny. This little Classic team that could, as far as I'm concerned, Sod's not fucking perfect, but they're fucking giving it a red hot go. Whether juxtaposition is the right word I'm looking for here, the contrast between this activity and what we've seen from Blizzard dev teams in the past, where we get delivered a system and it gets shoved down our throats and they say, here you go, and the feedback is we hate it, and the reply is, no you don't, you'll grow to love it. That's the opposite of what we're getting now. It's like, damn it, he's fucking right, it sucks. Get back to the drawing board, Timmy, and fucking fix this shit. Right on it, boss, I'll do it. And look, the fix might not be the fix, but they're fucking on it, rather than gaslighting us and telling us that you, the consumer, are actually the fuckwit in this situation. I'm getting all fired up. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I fucking love seeing this shit.
Oh yeah, dude, I love it. The response that we're getting, it's completely different than what it's been in the past, and man, hearing you so passionate about it, it's making me real passionate about it, all right?
Yeah, I'm more than pleased with the reaction so far of the team.
Yeah, just to echo off that, Josh, kind of what you're saying, because there are people out there that literally hate Blizzard because fundamentally they make money. Literally, you break down their argument and it's you're just mad that Blizzard's a company, if anything else. Do you know what I mean? So it's if it fucking rains, these cunts will be mad at Blizzard. They'll blame Blizzard kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So we kind of brought up with the whole kind of doomers saying this is going to be rat, or this is going to be retail. They're going to be throwing in all these abilities. Everything's going to be one shot and everything. Then you get in, and it's not. Proves the point that it's they didn't just willy nilly just add in new stuff, and it's just yeah, this is classic with a new lick of paint. This is to fundamentally break this down. And Tim, if you're listening to this, like I said, I don't know how you did this, because it's literally you've went back in time to 2004 and captured that original lighting in the bottle and have loaded it back into now. I can't go over the amount of shit, because it would literally be a fucking 24-hour call, Josh. Do you know what I mean? The amount of shit that's in this game from a design perspective, where it's they've actually put so much thought and into the niches and how this interacts with the game, and how this will it makes things easier, or it kind of boosts the quality of life without taking away the perspective. Do you know what I mean? So like I said, you won't be able to please everybody, because they'll just find something to complain about, kind of thing. And like I said, this whole thing of being a quote unquote shield for the company is nah, you have to give credit where credit is due. And like I said, Blizzard knocked this out of the fucking park already.
Mate, start thinking of a couple of those bigger points that you want to talk about, Tariak, just about the love and passion you felt in the design so far, because we'll come back to that later if we've got time. I'm getting messages from Tito going, fuck that, turn this into a 9-hour podcast, Josh. Don't fucking tempt me, Tito. Anyway, look,
Let's
guys.
fucking go!
He'll fucking do it.
Someone else was going to... I just want to say one thing before the next person weighs in. Again, people would say, like, oh, of course you got to say this, Josh, so you don't get accused of being a shill. But I'm like, look, I'll fucking give it to the classic team where it's warranted. And I don't mean to just, like, fucking throw all the love and affection in the world, without question here. But, like, yeah, Blizz has done bad things in the past. Blizz has made shit games. I agree. But, like, fucking sod, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. It's a fucking victory. It's a win. It's a great game. I don't want to go too nuts too early because we're only a week in. There's a lot yet to see. But this first week has been a fucking win, like Tariak has said. Anyway, so the credit is there where the credit is due. Someone else was going to jump in. Shane, was that you or someone else?
I was just going to say it's about time that they finally stepped up and listened to the community and just started being like, yeah, we're on top. We hear you. Here you go. And just start implementing it. It's a lot of time. It's just delay, waiting, and then they give us like a half-hearted fix that doesn't really fix it all the way back from even when Classic first came out.
Let me ask you guys this. I don't know if we've got any real, we probably do given my audience, but any real OG WoW players here from 04, 05. But,
yes.
I wasn't involved in the game until about August 06. So I don't remember any of this, but I have seen comments on the subreddit going, fuck, this feels like the real old days of vanilla when, like, there were changes every 3 seconds and you just had fun with your fucked up class for the week that it was like that. And they would, people are on Reddit, like, sort of complaining, going like, lol, Season of Discovery, look how quickly they're fucking changing everything already. They can't figure their shit out. And people are replying, brother, were you fucking there for vanilla?
Wonder, but because like I said, it makes no sense the criticism to levy against it, because it's like you're literally saying you're complaining that they're actually making changes to make the game better. Then, do you know what I mean? Like, you're complaining about the issue and then you're complaining that they're fixing the issue. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like from this whole perspective of like I said, there's going to be growing pains. But if you look at this from the perspective of, like, we're playing Classic now, right? Ergo, Fury Warriors should be the best. How many people here are 100% confident that Fury Warriors are going to be top in the meters and it's just going to be Brown Town on the DPS meters come Molten Core? Not a single one of us would be able to put any money on that. And like I said, that's that original fucking experience where it's like, you're in the world, you have like these cool new abilities, but you're still at that kind of classic regen rate. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, I have Avenger Shield, I have Consecration, but if I try to actually use those abilities when I'm leveling, I'm not going to be as efficient. I'm still using my old rotation, my old macros.
I don't know, mate. I'm expecting Browntown more to be number 2 than number 1 going forward. Anybody? Ooh. Oh, come on. Come on. No, well said, Tariak. But look, let me sort of just pull us back onto the Ashenvale side of things. Well, let's finish off on the response time. Sorry, someone yelled out and said they were there back in the 04-05 days. Who was that?
I had played.
Chain.
Yeah, I was early 05.
Okay, cool. Few of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this goes out to all of you. I'll start with you, Chain. You other guys can jump in. Do you recall, like, changes to the game coming thick and fast in those early days of WoW?
Yes, because there was a lot of things that were broken.
Yeah.
Or just didn't work, or were like literally breaking the game. Like when they figured out Rep Paladins, when they finally gave them something that they could get an infinite stack and one-shot things. Like there were some things that just, like, again, it just stacked some things that stacked infinitely or just worked differently. There was a lot of things broken, and they had to fix them quick.
Rollo?
So I do remember that, but I think just now society in general is just different with the social media and how people are I mean, yeah, we had the forums and the chat rooms back then, but now it's just different. People are more keyboard warriors, and they're always upset about something. So you can't have anything perfect. But even back then, when we had changes all the time, like it was amazing new game. And even though it did upset people, the world was just large, and there's so much going on, and everybody's just trying to figure everything out because we really didn't have it all handed to us from Wowhead in the first 2 days. There's ThoughtBot, but it took time. So there's a lot of discussion and trying to figure stuff out. So it's just nowadays everything's just now.
I just hearing all that and combining it with the fact that we didn't have a PTR because of obvious reasons for not wanting to give anything away. Look, people don't have to agree with me, but I'm not personally offended, and actually I kind of like seeing how many changes we're getting on a fucking almost daily basis. It doesn't bother me. How do you other guys feel about it?
Their attention's there.
It gives me more confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say it gives me more confidence to see that they're actively working in a fairly public way on making adjustments. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's like imagine the alternative where we went through all of phase 1 with everything as it was on day 1 and then they fix it all in phase 2.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is, I mean, when we ask Blizzard to do something new, then we need to be prepared for them to not always get it right. And you've got to give people space where they're being creative to make mistakes. And I think this is really the best of both worlds at the moment. We've got a lot of new content, a lot of new ideas. I think probably from, a lot of the newer members of the Classic team as well have put their heart and soul into making things more interesting. And I think everyone that's played Season of Discovery right now has seen the sheer scope of the amount of items and materials and thought that's gone into, freshening up and zhuzhing up Classic for us for this season. They're not always going to get it right, especially, if there's no PTR. And I think most reasonable-minded people playing the game understand that. It's just like a noisy minority at the moment that just feel like they should get it perfect every time. But that's what stifles creativity.
The game feels alive. And it's almost like a 20-year-old game, but it's classic, but it feels so alive. I feel like it's constantly just growing. And that's it's exciting.
Did you see the level of discomfort for people coming into the game when it first came out and there was no information? Everyone was just struggling to cope with having to read the quests and go out and explore. It was kind of hilarious.
It was fun. We had people in general and stuff just discussing stuff. What does this mean? What is this for? Finding named mobs and being like, I'm a warlock, I killed it, it gave me nothing. Everybody's like, okay, cool. My buddy shaman went and killed it, got nothing. Okay, we'll scratch that off the list. That's exciting.
Yeah, I think so. I think if anything gave you the original vanilla vibe, that was it.
Yeah.
Let me pull us on to Ashen Vale, guys. Sorry, it's been the world's longest tangent and preamble. That's my fault about the Classic team and their response time and all the changes and everything, and that's been super important. But let's talk about why we started bringing that up, which is because we've been getting lots and lots of changes in regards to Ashen Vale. Guys, like I said, I don't want to talk about it too much because I've barely touched it, but who's dived into Ashen Vale a lot? And I think it's, people would criticize me for giving you a leading question on this one, but I think it's fair to lead on this one because it was universal feedback that was negative about this event. So the leading question is, tell me why quote unquote old Ashen Vale from a few days ago was shit and why the new changes are good or bad.
First off, how am I sounding now?
Yeah, perfect.
Good.
Cool. All right. So a few days ago, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I ran it a few times and we would kill the mini boss. One side would kill the mini bosses, the other side would just go straight to the final boss. It was basically just Zerg strat. It was basically turning into an Altarok Valley, just race to the end, and you would have it would be over in a total of 5 to 10 minutes.
Which was our concern. Which was our concern straight off the bat.
And then the Zerg.
Yeah, exactly. But today, I ran it, and it was both sides were actively killing the mini bosses before going straight to the end. So it was played the way it was supposed to be, and you were actually getting a reputation for the mini boss you were at or you were killing. So that worked out. I think a big gripe of people over the past few days was that they weren't getting the reputation from it. So it's like, well, why the hell am I doing it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Two things on that just from me where I was like, I was trying to yell out that, look, we pointed this out on the podcast in the weeks coming up to release. My biggest concern was the graveyard thing. Other people's biggest concern was Alterac Valley 2.0 that you've highlighted there, Zim. But it's unfortunate that our two biggest concerns came to be a reality upon release, but it is fortunate that they're being fixed. But my big thing was like, yeah, if you're going to fucking create a pseudo battleground out of a zone, look, a 90-second walk back to your body and basically 90 seconds on the bench before you can respawn. And when you respawn, you're not guaranteed safety. That's a bit of a fucking killer for a lot of people. And I think they're on that with more graveyards coming.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Also, I think the base or the mini boss position seems off to me. It feels more like a PvE battle instead of, Horde versus Alliance. Like you can pretty much do it in a way where you don't really see any of the other faction, which felt weird.
Yeah, I definitely kind of got that vibe too. But then there's those other games where like you actually have people defending, and it's a whole another ball game.
Right. The game just has to be longer, so hopefully we get that direction now.
Yeah, no, I think it's headed that way for sure, because there used to be just kill squads that would just run the road looking for stragglers and stuff and like camp bodies around.
Mm-hmm.
But like today, when I was playing through, it was like people were actually people were defending, people were attacking. Like there's multiple raids going on. Now the one thing that's going on is people are layer hopping to it.
Yeah.
And whoever's like the last faction to layer hop to the faction where the event's going on is the one that's probably going to lose.
Well, that's another one of those arguments, like the item restoration thing, where there's two sides of the fence on this one, where one side says intelligent use of game mechanics, the other side says one word, lame.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all how you play. Like, I don't mind it. I don't care. Like, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But that's just me. I'm not trying to get super sweaty with it. I had a good time either way. Like, playing all day today felt way better than the previous days, and that was more fun per second. You know what I'm saying?
It's interesting that I want to talk about the changes that they've already brought some in and some are coming. They've addressed a lot of these points that we've just raised. Obviously, they've already done things like made it so that the God, you guys will know better than me. They gave honor points or whatever for killing the mini bosses now or something, or the main boss is harder if you don't kill the mini bosses. You get rep from, whether you're dead or not, or you just have to tag it with an offensive ability to get, counted as taking part and get your rep points. What else have they done? The fucking, what was the thing I was going to say? The layer hopping is now going to be a thing of the past, I think. They said they were addressing that.
Well, I can jump in. Now they made it so you physically have to kill the mini-bosses. It's not an option.
It's not like you have to kill them all before you get to the last boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's a race to kill the mini bosses now instead of just a race to kill the last boss.
All right. I'm just pulling up a Gren's tweet who's got all the details. But, I mean, are you guys sort of happy with all the changes we're getting? Is there a change that hasn't been proposed that you feel like it needs?
I'm beyond pumped, I got to say.
Yeah, I'm honestly pretty impressed and happy with the changes that they've implemented in it now. It was just like another Alterac Valley, a 5-minute deal. It's like, well, this is really underwhelming, beforehand. But today it was actually like pretty fun because you got to see every piece of it.
Yeah, it was awkward if a guilty shouted out, you're at 93%, and you start to head there from like say Camp T or Crossroads, and then by the time you get there, it's over in a minute or two. It's kind of like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're paying attention and making those changes.
They are batting 1-to-1 with every issue that's coming up, and it's blowing my mind every time.
Is
Oh yeah.
Is it the one kill is 1% towards your goal, or not?
It doesn't. There's no specific guide as to how it actually works, but it just says killing players and enemy creatures. So I take that as you will.
Yeah, I think the way I feel like it works is if you're flagged and you're questing or killing players. So I think it's being flagged, but I'm not 100%.
Because it also says enemy creatures. So
right.
It might be like retail where you kill creatures out in the wild, and that also counts towards the contribution.
Yeah.
Well, in Ashtonville, you have like the quest from the Horde side is to kill the Night Elf scouts or whatever. I feel like that would be an enemy creature, right? Something to that effect.
Yeah, it's not repeatable, so I'm not sure. I think it's just being flagged in the zone, but again, I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
I've also seen it too, where like we're on Horde side and Alliance, their percentage skyrockets so fast, but our Horde percentage for some reason went from like 13% to 0, and we weren't sure how that even happened. And it was after the battle was already over, like 5 minutes after.
Ooh.
So still learning about stuff, but
yeah.
So far in the PvE realm, the Alliance side, just their percentage skyrockets.
So we're 1 week into the game, guys. Let's say phase 1 and, Ashen Vale's life cycle has another 4, 5, 6 weeks in it. Is it fair to say there's fucking definitely still hope for Ashen Vale?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of time to iron it out.
Yeah, especially with the rep grind too, because I know people are going to want the Warsong Gulch rewards as they level up. They don't have to worry about getting those. So, when it's String of Thorn Vale next time, they don't need to worry about trying to grind the Warsong 1 because, they could be revered or exalted, but they know as they hit those level caps and stuff, they grab those rewards and it'll feel good because they'll have it done.
I'll say this much about Ashen Vale with the very little time that I spent in it. Like I said, I've only been there for about 3 hours or so. Even though I didn't actually engage, I didn't find the event. I couldn't find the fucking mini bosses and the bosses and everything. And I grouped up with people. We didn't know where the fuck we were going. It was just a comedy of errors. But the amount of world PvP on offer in that zone, my favorite thing in the game, guys, is world PvP is a breath of fresh air to me. And I think that it's been really, really nice, and maybe this will be a tangent to launch and what we saw with the tech with the 50-50 faction balance and everything. I'm running into players regularly to fight with, but I'm not necessarily being swarmed by them. To the point that, what's the point of being in this zone? I can't fucking move 3 steps without getting into a death ball or a player that's going to fucking fuck me up or anything. It's been a really healthy dosage of, if you go looking for it, there are fights around pretty much every second corner, but if you want to avoid them, you probably could as well. I just think it's been a really delicate, like they found that delicate balance with the layering where there's not 50,000 people in a zone and it's just a shit show. Have you guys experienced that as well, or something different?
I would agree.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's been fun. If you want to fight, you can easily find one. If you don't want to, you can easily avoid it.
Right.
Yeah, stay off the main road.
Yeah, and it's nice too with the cap because you don't have to worry about, high levels camping you. Like, it's really enjoyable.
I live on the road. I want people to fucking find me. But I mean, it is unfortunate because you do. I mean, I'm not saying this shouldn't happen, but you do run into a lot of groups of I should be grouping up because you run into a lot of groups of 2, 3, and 4 players, and I'm like, oh well, here comes my death. But there is still a little something there for the solo player. Like, you will find your little skirmishes, which has been great. I've just been losing them all as a warrior, which is why I lost my shit in the Discord and on Twitter the other day, where I was like, don't fucking play a warrior in phase 1 if you want a PvP in any fashion, which I still kind of stand by.
Should have played shaman.
Well, I've got a Warlock up and running to level 13 now. I've got a level 12 Druid, level 10 Shaman, level 13 Warlock, and my 25 Warrior, all in the first week. So I'll fucking take it.
You play it all?
Sorry?
Oh, so you're playing a lot?
I'm just dabbling. But guys, just really, really quick, I didn't want to talk about this, but I guess it would be silly if we didn't. Real short conversation about that launch. Look, the first 90 minutes was a typical MMO launch where it was a bit of a nightmare, huge queues, people fucking thinking the world was on fire, servers getting locked, factions getting locked, people cracking the shits. But something happened at the 90-minute mark where just the dust cleared, the sun came out, bullets stopped flying, and a ceasefire was called, and fucking, I don't know, it all just worked out, and people maybe they didn't get the faction they wanted, but they could go on a server. The queues went down. They were logging in. The layers came out, which weren't there for the first hour and a half. Really made questing a lot easier. Look, I've heard relatively mixed things. How do you guys grade the launch?
Smooth.
Very smooth.
Problems aside, S+. Those things are to be expected. People are asking for perfection. It's not a big deal.
You could tell when they started opening up more layers. I remember Mev and I were just like, we were just questing, and all of a sudden we're like the only people in sight. We're like, all right, something must have just happened.
It was so obvious.
Open.
It was so obvious. As people were saying, like, even on my little Oceanic server, it's on my server, on the little Oceanic server, there were 6 toons camped around every spawn point of every mob in Tiras 4 Glades. And then the layers kicked in, and now all of a sudden I was only seeing, like, a person here or there. And I remember going to Undercity relatively early on, but there should have been people there. I walked through Undercity for 5 minutes, about 2.5 hours into server launch, and I didn't see one person. And everyone on my stream was like, where the fuck is everyone? I was like, this must be the layers. I don't know. But also with the layers, what this new tech has supposedly brought, Blizzard has been really loud about this on social media. They say, and I'm more than happy to take their word for it, they say that they have never seen faction balance as tightly close to 50-50 across the board than as they've seen right now with Season of Discovery. They say whatever they've done has worked, and they are beyond ecstatic that these PvP servers that everyone was worried about are balanced as fuck. Does it feel that way to you guys? Because it does to me.
For wild growth, I'm not sure if I agree with that. If I just go off of Ashenvale and checking both wild or auction houses, I think I checked it the other day, and I think Alliance was at like 50,000 something items, and the Horde was at like 31,000. So there's one idea there. And then if you look at Ashenvale, if you just pay attention to like the percentages and stuff on how fast they can start participating, again, we're still not 100% sure how that works, but you can see the Alliance, they hit 100% way faster than Horde. So I'm not sure if it is necessarily 50-50 with those two things, but then again, they may have been just focused on the PvP realms.
Yeah, I think they were only actively monitoring the PvP realms, but by nature, if all the PvP realms are 50-50, you'd expect. I'd say wild growth, this is just me BSing a number. I'd say it's probably 60-40 in favor of the Alliance, which is normally expected on a PvP server. So I'd say it's pretty healthy.
I can appreciate the balance long term, but I've got to say I was absolutely cursing out that system at launch.
Because of the queues and whatnot?
Yeah, just because of the fact that the layers weren't working. So I rolled on the PvE Oceanic server, and I got on first, which was great, and then it just locked up completely. And then I couldn't roll on Shadow Strike because both factions were locked.
The funny thing with that, Alenia, I was going to say, and obviously you're putting forth the opposite, but please don't let me stop you from diving in if you need to. But I was going to say that I felt like they got away with murder a little bit, because for such a controversial thing as locking off factions, it's never really been done before, even if it was temporary. I saw minimal complaints about this. Like, I thought people were going to hit the fucking roof. Mate, I can't play with my fucking grandmother now, blah, blah, blah. But, like, there weren't that many of those posts around.
I think because they gave it a little bit of a compliment/constructive criticism sandwich in a way, game-wise. They gave people something really awesome. They put the shitty thing in the middle and something awesome on the other side and smashed it together. And everyone was so busy focusing on all the good stuff that they were happy to chew down on the stuff that wasn't quite so palatable.
Very good, very good.
Well, I think too, going back to how we're talking about this as a live game, the way even the days before where they kept changing like what the realms names were going to be, I thought that was the interaction they had with the classic players, I think was great. And then of course, them being there for launch night and opening up the new server and then posting that hey, even if you're in queue for this certain server, get out of queue because you're not going to get a certain faction, or that we are like, they were they're giving people heads up to allow them to make, to pivot, make a different choice, which again makes it's a live game, which I think is awesome that they're doing this.
Not just that, I really liked how they kind of stuck their foot down and didn't budge at the beginning. They said, no, we're not doing this.
I loved that post he did.
Eventually they backed on it because they were like, whoa, okay, well, we were wrong, and I appreciate it on both fronts. They stuck to their guns, and then when presented with the actual numbers, they were like, oh, you guys blew the numbers out of the water. We so much more than we expected. Okay, we will open another server. We were wrong. I respect that, and I love it. More developers of games need to stick to their guns.
But it's interesting in hearing you say that, because you're right. You're spot on. They absolutely need to be fucking applauded for that, because that's where the classic team has come unstuck in the past, where with relation to servers and opening up new servers, they've acquiesced to the loud complaints of the player base and been like, fine, here's 10 more servers. And that's where all the shit falls down. They obviously learnt a lesson and said, not this time, fucking do the Braveheart, hold. But then they've done the opposite. They've been really smart in choosing when to say fuck you to the player base and when to say fuck us. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're right, you're wrong. I was just saying before, they were right to fold over with the complaints that we were giving them about things like Ashenvale, and they folded straight away and said, you know what, you're right, we're wrong, we'll change it. But they took the opposite approach with servers, and both turned out to be wins.
Well, I think with Ashenvale, though, that's a very immediate and clear, okay, we can see the problem. Like, Ashenvale event ends in 3 minutes. That's not how we wanted this to go. That's not how this is
right.
I think that's a more immediate, we can see the problem. Server life and server population, that's a little more, we have to stand back and watch that.
Fair enough. All right, guys, we'll move on. There's your mate Rand in chat, Alenia. Oh my God, Rand, welcome back. Oh my God. He's a friend of Alenia's. He's talking shit. What was I going to say? Let's talk about the fun stuff. Let's talk about BFD now that we know that Ashenvale's getting fixed. Look, we've had time now to see it. I've done one. I didn't really talk about it in Discord. I didn't stream it. I'm sure all of you have probably done one, if not two. I'd love to know your thoughts on this raid so far, guys. Look, I enjoyed it, but I'm going to sound a bit down on it, but that's for reasons that aren't the game's fault, where I've realized that like nighttime raiding is not my thing anymore. My brain turns to mush. I'm a 41-year-old man. Anything after 8 o'clock is just a haze for me. And like, I started the raid at 7 o'clock, loved the first hour, and then everything that happened from that point on, I fucking hated because I just wanted to go to bed. How have you guys enjoyed BFD?
I'm going to jump in because shout out to Pup. We did a guild run. What was that? Tuesday night, I believe. We went 11 my time, which I'm normally in bed by then. And they said 11 to 2. And I asked straight up, are we hitting our heads against the wall, or are we going to call it early? And we were kind of like, we'll just kind of see how it goes. It was a lot of people. It was everyone's their first time, besides I think Mev, who did the beta or the demo at BlizzCon, Rolo, and it was fun. You could definitely feel the lack of gear, the people learning mechanics, but I mean, it was literally everyone's first time in there. I can see in 2 weeks from now, you're able to get 9 buddies, go in and out, an hour and a half, and call it a day, right?
Yeah.
The items look amazing. I don't know if anybody's seen people walking around with the trident, but we saw a Tauren warrior today walking around with a trident. The thing is massive. It looks amazing. But go to his point though, like our first hour, we pretty much were waiting at the entrance because we had a couple different mages that, everybody assumed, I guess, Tuesday was reset day, and not knowing that Classic does things a little bit different. And it was a 3-day lockout, so it didn't reset until Wednesday. So
3-day lockouts in particular that are different than server lockouts.
Right. So we had 2 people that 2 different times people came and got to we waited, they got to the door and they couldn't get in because they were locked. So it took about 45 to 50 minutes for us to actually get started. But even with a group a little bit under geared. I knew the first 3 bosses from the demo, and then we kind of figured out the next 2. We ended up going 5 out of 7 because we didn't want to push the time and stuff, but we had fun with it. And I'll tell you, Warrior does come online when you start to get some items and you start to figure out your build and stuff, but Warrior got real fun towards the end.
And you have a druid.
And I had a druid in the group.
And
that
a pretty
too.
fucking good tank, if I do say so myself. I'm just kidding.
No, Warrior, it was most of the dungeons leveling up Warrior was a pain, but getting into BFD, getting a couple items. I ended up getting 2 of the 3 for the tier set.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you call it a tier set, but the set you get for the male. But getting the helm and just getting a couple items, Warrior started to feel really, really good. And I started to actually be on top of the meters and stuff.
Right.
Where it's, leveling up in the dungeons, you're hoping to get past the healer who's wanding.
Yeah.
So it just felt
I had the
good.
same experience, Rollo, where like one dungeon I DPS'd Dead Mines, and like I was doing, this is before hitting 25, this is like 23, 24. I was doing no damage, and I was like literally like the healer was almost doing more damage than me as a warrior, and everyone was complaining, going like warriors are like weirdly like the shaman, almost like you're a utility buff unit now. You're not there for your damage. But then people like Geordie hit me up. I was complaining about warriors yesterday on Twitter about the PvP side of things, and I think Geordie, I'm not sure, but I think he misread it, because he was like saying what you're saying, Rollo, where it's like, keep going with the warrior, you'll be on top, once you've got some more gear under your belt, and then you'll be loving it. And I'm like, oh no, but I'm talking about PvP, not where I am on the meters.
Yeah, the PvP you can't really do anything now. But I mean, you don't need to. And I agree with you. I don't think Warrior will be, it's all brown for the raid at 60 and stuff. I think it'd be more competitive, which would be great for the community.
Rainbow
But I
Reds.
think at 25 in BFD, it felt good. But also with all the other classes and their new abilities, it was a lot of fun. Hearing people discuss, why I have this, you're like, well, what does that do?
Yeah, I agree.
Us figuring out these fights and who can do what, and it was a lot of fun.
On the items, I'd love to hear. Sorry, 1 sec. You jump in now, and then I'll go.
One of the things I was. Oh, there's 2 of us, all right.
Tariak, then Alenia.
No, ladies first.
One of the things I was most excited about with Season Discovery coming in was the fact that they were going to be manufacturing these new raids for us, because I know that the WoW team is extremely strong in terms of the development and design of raids for retail. And I was really excited to see what they were going to bring in for Classic. And I have to agree, Ubiquitous has written in the chat, BFD has some of the most fun yet not punishing mechanics the vanilla world's ever had. And I absolutely agree with that. It feels right for Classic in terms of difficulty, but they've definitely brought in some of that finesse and flavor that has been really good in retail.
Tariak, I'll throw it to you. Just to double down on that, Alenia, like I completely agree. Like, let's be honest, the first 4 bosses or whatever in BFD, they're fun in that they have flavor, and there is like a couple of mechanics that that vanilla has lacked in the past, but they're still fucking pushovers, and it's good fun. They're basically loot pinatas, but without being like obnoxious loot pinatas. Now, don't get me wrong, then you get to Kelrus and things are very different, but Kelrus in and of itself, it's not mechanically wild. It's just that in that fucking wild DPS check at the end. That's where all the
gear check.
Yeah, that's where all the fucking difficulty is baked. That I was sort of fucking struggling with it the other night, but I realized that in a month's time, in 3 or 4 weeks' time, this thing will be a relative pushover as well once everyone has their raid gear.
Yeah, it's a lot of the stuff is just geared DPS checks. I mean, yeah, you have to avoid walking in murlocs. I mean, the mechanics are fairly easy, but they're fun. They're fun. It's right. You can do the raid and have fun. I know you said on Twitter the other day, you're looking for something. You can have a beer in your hand and still do the content.
Yeah, the beer tank.
This is it. 100%. This is it. Maybe not week 1. You can't go in 7 out of 7 with your quest screens, right? Give it a couple weeks. Do some 5 out of 7 runs. Get some actual enchants. Come with consumes. But if you just want to go bullshit in 5 out of 7 with no consumes and pug it with no discord, you can do that easily.
Oh, fucking, you reminded me. I walked in, my guild must have hated me. I walked in as a tank with no enchants, no nothing. I had some
I tanked it too, with no enchants, I had a couple consumes, and 5 out of 7, fairly easy. So.
Very good. That makes me feel better. Tariak, will throw it over you, mate. Tariak, I'll throw it over you, mate. And I'll just say, fucking Galley, you've got to stream yourself doing the Murloc dance now with a beer in hand. And on that, this might be a weird thing. You guys, let me know if this is a thing or not. I was like, on the Murloc boss, I stood on his toes, like standing in front of him. I didn't have to move through 2 Murloc phases. No Murlocs hit me. I don't know if that's a thing or not. Same. But anyway, yeah, same for you. I know that too. Okay, so go nuts, Tariak.
Yeah, this is one of the aspects I was talking about where it's like they found that perfect balance where it's like it's kind of horizontal, where clearly like we're more powerful in a group now anyway, but it's that incentivization that's like when you're alone and you're questing solo, it's like pretty much you're still getting that classic experience. But when you start to group up, like you were saying, like the Warriors going in the groups with the Druids, getting that the Wind Fury going. Do you know what I'm saying? Like all these kind of like the kind of that aspect of Wrath where it's like when you're together in a group, it's like and you have all the raid buffs together, you're like increasing your power by 50% kind of thing. And it's like they have that aspect to it, but they've done it in such a fine way where it's like only when you're doing raid content, when you need the actual power, are you getting the power. Whereas when you're back in the solo, now, obviously, there's been cases with the mage also, but they've nerfed that because they want to keep that experience thing, and that's why I say they found that perfect balance, the lightning in a bottle, where it's like that perfect element of the world is still dangerous, but when you're in rage, you're hype as fuck. You have that kind of like the rage pumping, like it's like the Veil with full world buffs kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Big numbers, big crits, all that kind of thing. In terms of the raid itself, like we kind of said, the first 4 bosses pretty much like a kind of like just throw enough kind of spanners at it and you get it down kind of thing. When you get, but even within those, like you still have kind of like we said, the Murloc dance and all that kind of thing. Certain like kind of mechanics that is like it will wipe you, but at the end of the day, it's like you do enough times you'll get it kind of thing. Then you get to the 5th boss and it's like okay, now we're kind of like we're cooking with a fire, but it's still that feeling of like it's like Nefarian, kind of like compared to like Ragnaros and like step up in difficulty kind of thing. And then just as an off tank as well, it was such a really well designed tank switch on how they do it. Don't want to kind of go over too many spoilers or whatever, but like like I said, I was kind of fearing that it was like, oh, they're going to add more mechanics. Oh, it's going to be a taunt swap or movement for the tanks, you know. But they've done it in a very interesting way, and a lot of flavor to it and a lot of fun. And like I said, that's the only thing. Like I know we can't define the metric of fun, but that's just the one word that everyone I've been asking, even random people on the boats that I've been talking to. They're just like, yeah, man, I'm just like, I don't even care what the fucking meta is. I'm just too busy having fun, you know.
Well, that's kind of what I want to throw out there for this one, and like we've heard from a couple of you on this, but like in regards to BFD, we've sort of touched on it already, but if you haven't answered this yet, please do answer for me. And again, I don't want to lead, but is this raid fun or not for you? And does it feel like classic?
Oh, it's fun. And like it's fun because it's like Molten Core. You just go in with the boys, you knock it out, you have a good time, you don't have to focus, you're not sweating. It's just fun. And it feels classic. Doesn't feel crazy. It just feels like classic WoW. If I had never seen this content, if I had never seen this game in my life, I would just assume this was a part of the game 20 years ago.
So I agree 100% with him. I think it's fun. We're not looking for hard as like retail raids. We're looking for the classic where it's all about the journey, and then you have a little bit of a raid, you go in there, have a little bit of fun, nothing you stress out about, and hopefully get some gear. And again, it's classics about the journey. Like that's what it's all about, not to stress and freak out about raid night. I think it was a lot of fun. I think the Murloc dance was interesting.
I love it.
I know that. Go ahead. Yeah, there is a bug though, because I don't know if it's just a torn thing, but you can get feared and get stuck in the roots on the side.
Oh yeah.
So that was interesting being stuck there while Murlocs are coming at you.
what I was going to say was, I mean, even outside of BFD, and again, someone mentioned this earlier, but I think the whole thing, even out in the world, still very much so feels like classic. And, you know, the one time it kind of, I wouldn't say it didn't feel classic, but I felt a bit overpowered, was when my Warlock got Chaos Bolt early, and I am basically one-shotting mobs from level 7 through to 13. I'm not one-shotting them anymore, but like I was fucking annihilating something every 12 seconds with Chaos Bolt. And I was like, that was fun. And I wasn't complaining, but I was like, that's the one, maybe this doesn't feel as classic as usual kind of ability, but it got sorted out as I leveled up pretty quickly. But on the whole, I think they've done an amazing job with making it still feel dangerous and classic-like with those classic values. But still focusing on the raid. I mean, any cool items that you guys have got that you felt were fucking game changing? I can tell you, like I got the tank helm, which is, you know, some people are saying, let's talk about the itemization. Some people are saying, fuck me, these BFD items, they feel like stuff you should be getting at level 40. You know, the classic team said they didn't want to do things like invalidate Whirlwind Axe and give you outrageous stuff in BFD that means you're never going to have to get another item in phase 2. Do you feel like they're going to achieve that given what you've seen so far? I got a tanking helm that was like +9 strength, +8 stam, +7 defense or something, and everyone was like, holy shit. You know, and I was definitely saying that because I didn't have a fucking helm equipped. But then also I got like I've got a pretty cool tanking mace, the 1.3 speed mace that's only got +3 strength, +2 stam. But it's like a 1.3 mace with 18.5 DPS or something that wasn't game breaking, but very cool. How do you guys feel about the BFD itemization?
Like I said,
I like them.
Like Tim, I know you do the itemization, all the shit. Like Tim, seriously, like 420%. Because like there's certain items where it's like if you notice there's male items that have green armor, and basically what that means is that there's points off the actual item that is going into the armor, and like basically like male armor with green with green or armor itemizations into it is basically like wearing play. So it's like it's already like some of those items are already preparing you for play already. So like I said, there's certain aspects like that I can see. The one thing that I want to give Tim a shout out for is the Hammer of Righteous Judgment. It's 1.3 speed mace, and like as a paladin tank, that's that's your best in slot until you're raiding basically kind of thing, because you're able to exploit the spell power coefficient. So it's like the fact that I seen that, like tip of the cap. Oh my god, like standing ovation, Tim. Like as soon as I seen that hammer, like I said, I was talking about Divine Storm and Consecration, like cream pie in my pants. That I was literally like the Vincent fan. I was literally like fell off my chair. I was like, oh my god. The one thing I would say is like just for future suggestions, like on this, and I know this might be no, I won't say it now. I'll leave for another time. But like it's like I said, kind of itemization wise, it's just insane. There's certain things. It's like 1 or 2 items maybe, but it's like that kind of thing of like holy shit. Like this is like they know exactly what makes the classes thing. So like they've like the testing they've done internally, they've done their homework kind of thing.
So one of the things I'll say though is, because I did get the helm and the boots, and say the helm for instance, it's 9 strength, 11 agility, 3 stam, gives you +4 defense, but the two piece set gives you +12 attack power. If we look at like Scarlet Monastery, where we're looking at the helm, the Raging Berserker helm that we're all going to want to get. You know, you get more strength there. You get 4 more strength. You're at +13 strength. You get the 1% crit, so that versus the 11 agility. You get more stamina by a couple points, but honestly, the armor is just a little bit higher. But I don't know if I would want to lose the 12 attack power 2-piece. So comparing that versus, you know, the armory level 40 item, you know, it kind of seems like it is a level 40 item. And even if you look at the boots, you know, the Scarlet boots and stuff, you're looking at 5 agility, 12 stam. The 2-piece sets +10 armor. As a warrior, 10 armor is not going to do too much for me, but my boots have 10 strength. So I'd almost want to keep my boots versus losing the 10 strength. So in my sense, I liked them, of course, because like I was saying, it felt like Warrior came online. But if you compare these, if they don't change like items like from Scarlet Monastery, if you compare them, I don't see me dropping these 2 pieces all the way to phase 2 unless the Normergon raid has more better items. But just from potentially farming Scarlet Monastery, which I've always enjoyed doing, I don't see me changing these 2 items for these. I feel like I would lose DPS.
As a paladin healer, I've been lucky enough to snag a couple of healing items in the raid, which is fantastic. But one of the things I found really interesting was that for male, male armor rewards in the raid are all basically tanking or a little DPS. There's no healing mail at all, and I thought that was interesting because that's a very classic-esque kind of mentality that you have to wear cloth in classic if you're going to heal, and they didn't decide to actually add in any specific paladin healing mail gear.
Is there a blue dress in there?
Yeah. Yes.
Hell yeah, there it is. That's classic, baby.
It sure is. I've got it.
Does anyone expect the items in BFD to be changed during this phase in terms of the numbers being tweaked?
I don't think so. It feels about right.
I would hope that maybe they would increase. I don't know if they would change or increase the itemization of like I said, the Scarlet Monastery items, because obviously at that point we're probably just looking to fill certain spots. But I think Normergon, the raid, is where we'll be looking to get obviously upgrades from what we have now. But I can see a lot of people taking the BFD items all the way until and maybe an item from Normergon.
Yeah, similar, or while on the topic of loot, I do want to say that the loot dropping feels good. You're getting 2 to 3 pieces per boss in a 10-man, which feels awesome.
Yeah, real
yes.
good.
When we're doing seasonal stuff, we want loot and we want lots of it.
Yes.
This feels good. So I like that 2 to 3 items. I don't know if it's always 3. The one boss that has the ice patches, sorry, minor spoilers, I guess. We got the ring that is just for hunters. So I don't know if that's like an additional thing that could drop, or it's 3 items and was just one of the 3, or if it's normally 2 and then that could just be a bonus one. I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
But it does feel good getting 2 to 3 items for a 10-man. That feels good.
No, it's all good. In relation to spoilers, I'm going to say something at the top of this episode. Like on release, the spoiler thing is out the window. Like people are talking about this everywhere.
Okay, cool.
Guilds are talking about it. It's totally fine. The only thing I get funny about and probably do want to avoid is, and I feel like I've got a really epic Josh like profanity laced rant brewing for this one. Is I personally kind of draw the line at data mined items coming in future unreleased raids. I was really unhappy to see, even though I knew it was coming, I was really, really pissed off live on stream when I got the notification about fucking 3 minutes after launch from Wowhead that here's all the items you get in the level 40 Nomragon raid. I really hit the roof. And I just think that they're a fucking problematic publication that they've got some serious fucking issues, and it doesn't matter to them because it's all fucking advertising money. But that's a rant to come for fucking Wowhead and the reckoning that I've got for them. But anyway, a lot of people will disagree with me.
That's why Gally and we stopped looking at Wowhead the 2 weeks prior to launch because it, like you said, they fucking ruin it.
They're a publication that lost their way a long time ago, and despite the fact that they still do good work, some of their work is just absolute like fucking piece of shit territory, in my opinion, and I will not pull punches for the fucking people that work at Wowhead, quite frankly. So yeah, something to look forward to.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So guys, look, I'm trying to think of the big ones that we haven't covered yet. But I think we can probably move on from BFD. It's fun. Get in there. Go fucking cause some mayhem. Real quick. Look, real quick. It is fair to bring this up as a knock. Look, I've not seen one yet, but I have complete faith in all the reports coming back that it is in one certain area of the world just botapalooza. Unfortunately, we know that bots are a plague upon Classic. We can go in on what the team can and can't do about bots and what Blizzard's general attitude is towards bots and how slow they might be on the trigger for certain fiduciary reasons at times. The Classic team will roll their eyes at me for that. That's still a hill that I'll die on, is that, look, whilst something is being done about bots, I just always will have the feeling that there's a shadowy figure in the background saying not so fast on cancelling those accounts. But that's just me. But I will say with Season of Discovery, yes, have you guys seen the big patch of bots? I think it's in Stone Talon. I don't know.
It's everywhere.
It's
in
everywhere.
Hillsbred, it is in the Barrens, it is in Stone Talon. If you are not actively reporting every bot you see, you are doing your friends a disservice. I have gotten one mail from Blizzard support saying thank you. So I hope that maybe they just thanked me for all of the 40 that I've probably reported.
Right. You can break those bots if you kill the pet and then interrupt their revived pet. They just run off in a direction and call their pet forever.
Well,
Which
I'm
is
playing
cool,
a PvE
but, I mean,
server.
We
Right.
we pay
Mistake.
for a service to play the game. It's not our job to clean the bots up.
That's true.
No, I agree.
My
I
big
agree.
issue is obviously the economic effect. Like, look, if I pass a bot in the world, I don't lose my shit, whatever, there's a bot, but I know that under the hood there are extreme economic repercussions going on from what that bot is doing and what the other bots are doing. And obviously, you look, it's guys, we report on the game here. I'm not going to fucking not talk about this, even if it is just a relatively quick conversation. But yeah, you can buy gold for Season of Discovery already, and it was fucking there from day one, and it's going to be there on day one of every fucking MMO you play for the rest of your life. So get fucking used to it, sadly. But the fucked up thing is what it does to the economy and the pressure that it creates to buy gold. And, we've already seen GDKPs advertised, whether it's in jest or not. The specter of GDKP coming down the road is there. I want to ask you guys about the economy side of things. Not do you feel that bots have already had an impact, that buying gold has already had an impact, or that's something we won't see till later down the track? But the only thing I've noticed about the auction house is items are very expensive for the first week of a server. I looked at raiding, and if I wanted to buy raid consumables, which I know is an expensive endeavor anyway, but I was like, all right, let me get this straight. I got fucking 30 gold up my sleeve here because I've done a few quests at max level. I got fucking 30 gold. I've somewhat grinded for that gold. And these cunts think the pricing is right to have me buy I don't know, 5 to 8 potions or something, and that'll cost me 1 gold 50 to 2 gold a pop, costing me 50% or more of my total net worth for one night of raiding. How did the fucking price get that high that quickly, and are people paying it?
I feel like it's actually being set up specifically to force people to look at gold buying and GDKPs. I feel like it's kind of like the opening salvo to try and start getting that specific economy started on the servers.
I have a weird take, and maybe this is because I don't really care. The economy is something I've never really cared about. As long as I have enough money to do my own thing, then it's cool. Because again, this is a seasonal server. You can't take this money with you, right? And if you do, where the hell are you going? Era, or I guess potential SOD era, but you're going to era, which the economy is already way fucked since day one. So it's just as long as you have enough gold to get your consumes or whatever it is you want to buy, then it's probably fine. As long as you aren't actively participating in GDKPs, then I think you're fine. And that's kind of the stance I've had in Wrath. And it's super easy to get money in Wrath. And right now, it's super easy to get money at 25, I think. It's you just go do some quests.
I think the nice thing, too, with the raid is, it's not, you don't have to.
True. You don't have to come full consumed.
That's true.
Like I said, we went 5 out of 7, no enchants, no consumes, some green gear, first time in, nobody's done it before.
Right.
Now, if you want to go in, full buffed, full consumed, whatever, be my guest, right? But you don't have to.
I'm going to respectfully disagree because, with a sales background, all I can see there is that they are doing the first tenet of marketing, which is creating the demand, and creating demand by creating scarcity, pumping the prices up so that you feel like if you want those consumed, you are going to have to pay more. And the question not being asked is, why are the prices so high? And I just feel like there's an immediate artificial inflation of the auction house to drive people in a particular direction that I am extremely uncomfortable with and unhappy with. Does it affect my day-to-day play? No, I don't think it does, but I do feel like it points towards a real issue coming in on the servers, especially when they're so fresh. When you see that mentality that has turned Wrath into a GDKP pinata and rampant gold buying coming straight into, what should be classic flavored servers.
I get that, but I think, like Josh was saying, you're going to have this in a 2023 MMO. You know people are going to buy gold. You know it's going to be rampant, and there's nothing the player can do at this point, I think, other than not actively participate in buying gold.
Well, the one...
Well, I guess we can be pissed off about it.
You can still be pissed off about it. Sorry, Tariak.
Sure.
Was that you, Tariak, about to jump in?
Yeah, there's a couple of things about the economy. Like in terms of like it not mattering, there's kind of like knock-on effects in terms of, for example, like let's say if like 1,000 gold is the equivalent of what 10 gold is now, then all of a sudden everyone has their epic mount. It's easy to get your epic mount, and then Warlock portals is not a thing. You're not as that reliant on people to get around the world. All that kind of knock-on effects. So like it does matter. Personally, like in terms of the way it's tied, it's usually tied to whatever the most efficient gold per hour farm is. So if you notice the Murlocs off the wetlands area alliance who dropped the iridescent pearls, so like all those key items, like their values are going to be tied to a certain thing, which is what's the most efficient kind of like grind you can do. I think at the moment it's roughly 10 gold an hour. But how I make my gold, and this is kind of like a small tip, is at the moment the professions are capped at 150. But if you can fish in Tanaris, you can fish up greens that literally vendor, like green weapons that will vendor for like 2 gold 50 silver a pop. Now you might ask yourself, how do you fish off the coast of Tanaris at 150? You can get the engineering lure, which is 100, but your catch rate won't be that great. But then you get the big iron fishing pole, which adds another 20 onto that, and then you have a decent catch rate. So there's all these kind of like hidden things in the game that like I don't know what to call them, like the top 1% gold earners will say, or whatever, like not to try and like throw names or whatever, or throw shade. It's like this is just whoever, like all these people who will spend all this time researching how all these things interact and all that. Like they will find these things where like I spent like 7 hours getting that fishing rod because as soon as I realized they put the cap on the professions, I was like, okay, I'm probably going to be the one of like a handful of people who are going to spend 7 hours, level 17, course walking back to get this fishing pole. But like I said, it's because I had that kind of like game knowledge beforehand. But like I said, in terms of the economy itself, it is kind of ridiculous pricing at the moment for the majority. But the thing I will say is that there's only a finite amount of quests that we can do at this level. Eventually, people will run out of that, and then all of a sudden they can put up the prices, but people won't be paying it, and then all of a sudden, you're losing so much money because of the deposit that you have to do for each auction. So if it doesn't sell, you're losing money. So it's like all these kind of hidden gold sinks and all the stuff that will eventually drive it back down. That being said, botting completely shatters this because bots will just like farm 24/7. It's like automation, 24/7 every hour kind of thing. And then once you have people who can just like throw down a bunch of gold, like I said, they'll buy all the stuff no matter what price they put on the auction house, and then all of a sudden the vast majority of people aren't able to even afford their consumes, like you were saying as well, Josh. So like I said, give it time, let it open up to at least the level 40 bracket, because then at that stage, even if professions at 225, you still have so much of the world already opened up that there's a lot more kind of range of different farms and different things that are going to be needed, and then they could just throw in more items in the future raid, where it's like you're not getting past this boss unless you have this particular thing, which, you know what I mean, is basically almost impossible to farm by a bot. You need like a group to basically farm this or something like that, and then all of a sudden it has that aspect to it. But again, like I said, there's so many ways and different things they've already tried to handle this. This is even a retail issue itself. It's like every game has this kind of issue in terms of the bot and stuff like that as well. So there's no real kind of like quote unquote right answer to it, but it's definitely a lot to think about. But yeah, like that's my 2 cents on it anyway.
No, well said, mate. Well said. And it's a tough one to talk about. I don't want to I'm not here trying to be like a doomer on the economy 8 days into the fucking game, but it's just something I'm keeping an eye on, and I'm really interested to see where it goes. And I agreed. Like Torbjorn's like right to check me, and I was sort of trying to check myself a bit when I brought it up, going like, I realized that consumables are meant to be desirable, and like, mate, you fucking. You know, you're getting something valuable. You're supposed to pay for it. These fucking things aren't free. I totally get that. I was more wondering if like the week one price is what people are used to or where it's normally at, because it seemed high to me, but what the fuck do I know? I'm not a raider. All I know is it's
absolutely too high.
It feels high to you as a regular raider, yeah, Elena?
It's massively high over what should be.
Right. Because like Matt said, I didn't tell you guys, by the way, like we didn't actually finish BFD in my run. We split up into 2 teams, and my team got hard stuck at Kelris and the other team full cleared. And like I said, I was playing like shit. I didn't have fucking enchants, consumes or anything. So fuck it. I don't care if my raid wants to blame me. They can blame me. But it's one of those things where one of the attempts, we had a guildie drop off those, shadow protection pots for 2 gold, 50 each. So someone put in 25 golds to help us try and full clear the raid. And this was like our fucking 10th or 12th attempt or something. We go, rightio, let's see if it was just the shadow protection that was holding us back. Mate, we fucking popped the shadow protection in phase 2 and it still got obliterated. So like sitting there the whole time going like, you literally couldn't afford this. Like you couldn't afford to prog with shadow protection pots. So it's a tough one. So yeah, something to keep an eye on. Look, what else have we missed, guys? I don't want to go too long. We're just over the 2-hour mark, and I probably want to start to hit the home stretch. There's so many important. Well, we haven't even talked about the classes. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to gush or complain about your classes a bit before we go, or is there another important issue that we have to address?
Shaman Viz.
True that. True.
Well, everyone's saying Shaman tanking feels great. Enhanced DPS, not so much. What's the go?
I'll jump in. Shaman tanking feels great. I'm working on my second one. It's a blast. It feels good.
No pun intended. Did you change the sound effect for Molten Blast yet?
I have not.
Oh, get on it.
It's still the lame one.
Get on it.
Just the. I will. I'll get there. But it's super good. You can top DPS. You can threat's not an issue. One time we ran a SFK with a mage, and they kind of fucking popped off. I don't know what they were doing, but they were destroying shit. Mages are very strong right now, and that was like the only time where I was like, oh shit, I kind of need to pay a little bit more attention here. But it just feels very good. I like it.
Alenia, I'll just throw it to you real quick because we have seen a lot of class changes come in very quickly, most notably the Hunters. Agren made a great joke the other day about after now, jumping into the Hunter Discord, he now wants to delete Hunters and dealing with that community. Obviously is a very tongue-in-cheek joke, but Hunters have had to come under a lot of attention so far. Alenia, you leveled incredible. Actually, no, can I say fuck you, Alenia? I love you because we didn't talk about your achievement. Was it world 3rd or something to 25?
Yeah, world 3rd, Oceanic 1st.
Congrats,
goal,
mate.
so I was really happy about that. Thank you.
And all on that Hunter with that. I mean, I made the joke about rest in peace explosive shot that you had for 48 hours.
I didn't have explosive shot. I didn't bother to go and get it. I just used Chimera, which is probably an indication of how strong it was because all the top contenders to get to 25 were Hunters.
Wow. Anything about Hunters that you've known? I think a lot of the nerfs that Hunters have received are like more than justified, and I don't think it's like when a class gets obvious nerfs and logical nerfs, you don't see the community bitching about it generally. And anyone like, I don't know, with something like the explosive shot nerf, to me personally, if you're a hunter that genuinely is still complaining about losing that, like, you're just someone who wants to be the best, you know, at everyone else's expense. Fuck game balance, fuck anything. Like, it's just nonsensical. Elaine, have you agreed with a lot of the changes that Hunter has received so far?
They definitely needed to be nerfed. And I mean, I love Hunter, but you know, the only ones that are complaining about it at the moment are the hunters themselves, I think. And that it's a little bit split between people that, you know, just want to be OP and people that understand that there needs to be some degree of balance. And it was heavily imbalanced the way that it was working, and it was even more imbalanced the way that the community was just trying to min-max and abuse the way that things like kill command were working. If you weren't aware, there was a period of time there for Scorpeds where people would snapshot the Scorped damage with kill command and then just let it run for the full 30 seconds, which was causing an insane amount of damage, which was pissing everyone off in PvP, understandably. Scorped poison is normally just garbage as far as damage goes, and it was just ticking for like 100, which was ludicrous.
Yeah, everyone's talking about the hunter pets and obviously the ridiculous amount of armor and health they've got. They're tanking raids. It's been pretty wild. It's been quite the roller coaster ride through week 1 for hunters. Who else wants to talk about their class? Tariak, mate, you were salivating over Paladins prior to launch. Has it been everything you dreamed of and more?
Everything I've dreamed of, so much more. Like I said, I'm almost a drug addict. Like I said, with Divine Storm and Consecration, it's unbelievable. And like I've loved it that much. I've actually made it a thing of like even getting like dedicating time to like make sure every single paladin in my guild has the Divine Storm quest line, because it's that good. Quickly to go through the different specs in terms of holy, like what I've heard back from like the holy paladins in my guild, they love it. Like I said, it's kind of like they have their security blanket, all that kind of thing. I would kind of say in terms of the kind of play style of having that kind of like AoE heal, maybe play around with something with like Judgment of Light for future. In terms of Wrath, I think just the main thing is that like there's a good chunk of the Wrath community that wants seal twisting with Martyr, so it's just that's the conundrum they want. But I think the main kind of question or the main problem with that is how do we balance seal twist and martyrdom with Divine Storm, because if it's just martyrdom is that much better, then it's like it needs to be somewhere between 5 and 10% difference, where like the top 1% will always pick martyr, but the quote unquote noob or the newer player would pick Divine Storm just because it's easier to play style kind of thing. In terms of pro, like I said, it's amazing. The only thing, like I said, like fucking 20 out of 10 kind of thing. Like I said, Divine Storm Consecration is amazing. The only thing that I'm worried about is just the spell hit and the resist and the taunts. But again, like I said, I have a note of this in terms of ideas. Like base is kind of like a 16% spell hit, or just like your holy spells can no longer be resisted. And I'm even willing like to have that kind of weighted against the mitigation rune for like, let's say holy shield or something like that. But the main thing I would say moving forward for paladins, quote unquote wish list, is just the optimization and the armor. But like I said, the hammer being 1.3 speed in the raid tells me that Tim knows exactly what he's fucking doing. So Tim, like I said, amazing fucking job. Keep doing what you're doing. One possible kind of like idea, if I can, my lord, please, is in future raid, maybe in the level 50 cap or something like that, putting an item that's like a mini quote unquote Thunder Fury that puts a debuff, no damage, just give it like the armor and the stamina, but it puts a debuff to like 4 or 5, and it's kind of similar to the Thunder Fury, where it's like it gives like it does like 200 threat, let's say, for each jump or something like that, because that's the whole thing about Thunder Fury for tanks, is because it does that AoE threat. So like I said, if you're thinking of item ideas or whatever, like that mini Thunder Fury thing where it's not going to affect PvP, it's not going to affect anything like that, it just puts a debuff, whatever debuff you want, maybe armor pen or something like that would be nice, to spice it up. But like I said, it just puts a debuff to the 4 or 5 targets on proc, and like I said, like that's like that for me is kind of like okay, right, we're literally, this is crack cocaine right now. But apart from that, just keep doing what you're doing, Tim. Amazing job.
As Tim fairly says, he's not the only person on the team making the game, but thank you. He's just the only one fucking mad enough to jump in and listen to us rabid cunts, right, Tariak?
Oh man, but like I said, it's it just the expectation, like, and it's kind of like, oh, imagine if it could be like this, but then even like your imagination of what it could be is just like you're just blown out of the water. You're kind of speechless. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even on the Paladin podcast, we were kind of like, what else would you want to see in the runes? And we're just like, the only thing I can think of is 16% spell hit. That's it. You know, amazing job, guys. Amazing.
Rolo, what have you been playing?
Yes, warrior.
Oh, mate, fucking hook me up, brother. I'll feel your all of your points. What have you got?
So I'm warrior main, have been always. I was really looking forward to all of this. I was a little bit disappointed until I hit cap. Leveling up, I think I just wanted to be able to, I guess, do more than what the normal classic warrior leveling up was. Victory Rush was a godsend up to about level 10.
Yep.
And then from there,
useless.
Kind of useless. Yep. It does suck that you lose the proc if you get missed, dodged, or parried.
Yes.
Which, as a warrior, happens often. So you go in, you lose it, and you're like, sweet, that's just gone.
It should have been 30 seconds, and it should have been like almost undodgeable or something. I don't know.
It should have been something.
Yeah.
The 10% heal was nice, but like I said, with how long it takes us to kill mobs as we level up, 10%'s gone pretty quickly. Yeah. But obviously, I know we're not going to have something like a heal or something that's going to regen you from mob to mob. It just is what it is. Classic warrior. The damage on it, though, I thought was great. Coming with Quick Strike, I really enjoyed Quick Strike, but I also knew Quick Strike, it doesn't give you that. It gives you that feel good, like I'm going to use this ability, which I really liked. But obviously, it wasn't as impactful as what Heroic Strike is. But I feel like you give up a little bit with Heroic Strike. Obviously, you lose the rage and the auto attack, but Heroic Strike, you can feel it. Like when it hits, it hits.
Yeah.
Quick Strike, you have that reaction, which that feel good to hit a button. But you also have to think about, you're also getting your auto attack plus the rage. So I enjoyed using Quick Strike. I do wish it did a little bit more damage, especially like when Victory Rush does as much damage as it does. But I enjoyed Quick Strike. I use that for leveling up. I was really excited to try out the tanking talents, and I was really let down by them. So I ran a group and with some guildies, and I was like wanting to test out some things, and they were very willing to do it. So with the Sunder stacking and trying to use Devastate on like the last boss of Wailing Caverns, like with a boss like that, stacking up the Sunders and be able to have the attack power actually scale with it felt good. I was able to keep threat on those. Single target threat was not a problem at all. It's still the same age-old thing with AoE, going in and trying to, you could use demo if you wanted to, or you go in and try and use, the new rune with Thunderclap. Well, Thunderclap can get resisted. Charging in and trying to have 20 rage, good luck. Especially when you're trying to spam Sunder on any mob, try and keep it off of. Hunters are doing amazing damage. Shamans are doing amazing damage. Mages are doing amazing damage. Priests are doing, everybody's damage has skyrocketed up. And you're spending 15 rage on a Sunder armor, which is just one on one mob. If you want to try and charge in, which charge gives you 9. If you go down to the arms tree, you can increase it. But again, you have to be in battle stance. And in order to use Devastate, you have to be in defensive stance. Thunderclap being that 20 rage, that was terrible. I mean, if you're trying to do this for RFC, Welling Caverns, Dead Mines, Shadowfang Keep, those sort of things, like the leveling up part, I literally just had to do the age-old, went with the two-hander, went in there and just tried to wreck stuff. And then the team just knew it we try to handle threat the way we could. Like I said, single target was easier because you actually had the time to stack your Sunders and actually get the benefit of it. But you don't really get a benefit off of 1 or 2. And with how much damage everybody's doing, things are dying before you can get 2 or 3 Sunders off of anything. So AoE threat was out the window. Single target was good after a little bit. But like with, Gally was saying, I would just go with him and he could hit one button and that was it. He had threat on AoE till they're all dead. Like no issues at all. So that was a little bit of a letdown. Once I started getting into 20s and I started getting more of my runes, I don't know why Horde have to go to Red Ridge wetlands multiple times, Duskwood. It is what it is. I just made those trips anyways. But got those abilities, which was kind of a little bit let down because I was like, man, it's weird. We have to go all over here a couple times in the 25 bracket. But like I said, it was part of the game and I enjoyed doing it. Got all the flight pass on my way. So those are all set. And then once I got cap and I started, trying to farm, not like pre-bis, but just trying to get better itemization on what I had, you could feel it. And that's what started to feel good. Doing questing, I'm always not sure about, single-minded fury versus, a little bit of victory rush or how I want to go about it. But single-minded fury feels real, real good. Got that with the rep. Not doing the Warbringer because I don't see the point. Trying to tank now and be in battle or defensive, it just, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like the right move right now. So I'll probably save that one for a little bit later. But now, like I said, having the gear, gotten to BFD, I got the helm and the boots, and then that with the plus 12 attack power. I looked at my numbers, even mid-raid, once I got those 2 items, my damage skyrocketed. The build I have to play, I have to get all the way up to 80 rage, and you have to toe that line because of the consumed rage rune. If you can keep the rage going, that's good. But if your group has to stop and anybody has to drink, you lose all of it. So it usually takes you about 2, 3, 4 mobs before you can try and get back up into there. I'm using rage potions now and going that route. But once you're towing that line on the 80 rage and you don't spam it all the way with like heroic strike or cleave, your damage does really well. And having a feral druid with you is amazing to have. So if you can toe that line, it's great. Questing, I enjoyed questing for the most part, 1 through 25. It was specifically being in the dungeons. As DPS, like I said, you're competing with the healer until you really, really start to get some items. Their wand ability just beat you. Tanking, like I said, I did it the ones and I was like, okay, it's just not there right now. I loved Warrior. It was a blast.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Look, I enjoyed it too. My bitching was more, I'll just go in on the PvP side of things, given your take on the PvE side of things there. I agree with a lot of what you said. My thing with PvP has been, I don't want people to misconstrue what I was bitching about earlier for like 30 seconds, where like with Warriors in phase 1, I don't think anything should be changed, despite how fucking, we're basically gimped in PvP and we're basically a target dummy. Like, this was just not our phase. We're not online yet. We all know that the Warriors kit comes later, blah, blah, blah. I'm not thinking like, oh, we just need another rune and I just need this. No, I don't need fucking anything. Like, it's just my time to eat shit. It's not fun PvPing on a Warrior right now, but it will be later. So like, yeah, okay, I can deal with 5 weeks of eating shit. It's not like I never kill anyone. I get a fucking win here and there, but it's just like there's a lot of times where you can see the other classes playing with their new toys, and I very much so feel the same. The season of Discovery Warrior has not felt different in my mind to a vanilla Warrior greatly thus far. Do you think that's a fair assessment, Rollo?
Well, I agree 100%. My only hope is that we don't have to wait till 60 to come online, which I don't think will happen. I honestly think next phase is going to be real. It's going to start to feel real good. Our Whirlwind Axe, the Ravager, the build right now that seems to be doing well with us is dual wielding. So, we may go that route, but it depends how two-hander, and that's what's exciting. Like, what build are we going to do? Will two-hander come out on top? Will we stay with dual wield? Having even though we may not have all these special shiny things, we get to play around with, the weapon builds that we want to go, these talent builds we want to go. And, we can actually, with Warrior, I feel is so rewarding is you feel everything you get. Everything is earned and you can feel it and it comes out. And I think that's it may not be shiny or flashy, but it's going to feel good.
Yeah. Hey, Ubiquitous, how are you, man?
Hey mate, how's it going?
Good.
Sorry, I just got home from work. I missed the last half an hour because I was driving, but I was listening to the first while.
Mate, all good. Yeah. I know you were gagging to be a part of this one, and I'm glad you found the time now. Look, we've probably glossed over a lot of the stuff that you wanted to talk about really badly earlier in the podcast, but if I can just say, I'll lead you in with, look, get your burning points out that you were screaming at your screen before now, and then I'll ask you about rogues.
Well, I was vigorously partaking in chat, and you guys referenced a little bit of it. But
I was trying to do you right, mate.
Yeah, the main thing was the boxes. I like the chat about it, and it's good to get on voice so people realize that I'm not just some grouchy prick that's having a whinge. It's just I'm always driven to like this system is a-okay, and if they change nothing, then that's cool. We'll just will do it. I'm always just like, how can it be better? It's not like this is categorically shithouse, I'm mad about it, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, it's fine, but I think it could be better.
I agree.
There is an
I agree.
alternative
It's not
that's a
perfect.
little bit better.
It's not perfect.
Yeah,
I think that's fair to say.
That's every system in the game. If we never took that route, we'd still have the rank 14 grind from vanilla.
Yeah.
It seems like they looked at that and went, you know what, that's pretty shithouse for these days. So, no, that's all. The crate discussion was good. I like listening to that. I think the Ashen Veil. I'll go everything real quick. The Ashen Veil.
He's going through his 8 pages of handwritten notes.
I can't disagree with a single thing that they've implemented since launch. I think you hit the nail on the head saying it wasn't exactly what we were expecting on launch, but they've taken everything in and they're delivering pretty much on every complaint. Like I specifically tried to do an Ashen Veil the other day. I got ganked on the road, I think the minute it started, and it took me 12 minutes to actually meet up with my raid. I didn't get the tag. I got 0 rep, and I essentially just wasted half an hour for what was a rather unenjoyable and 0 rep experience. And that shipped me off, and I went to Hillsbrad and farmed 24 fish oil for the next 2 days that I logged on. So now, after reading what they're implementing, that's all good and well. I think every change is right on the money. Like, just be there, partake, don't AFK, and kill shit, and you'll get rewards. That's all we really wanted. And yeah, I've missed pretty much everything since then.
No, that's all good, mate. You hear the important part, which we're just sort of asking people how their class feels or drives after the first week. Now, mate, Rogue is what you're playing, and somewhat similar to other classes. Well, maybe a lot of the classes are coming back with really great fun reports, but a couple are getting sort of roller coaster reports. Rogues have had some up and downs for you, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm ready to take a baseball bat to the average Redditor that is now looking at our DPS at 25 saying, oh, all Rogues did was complain. All Rogues complained about was level 1 to 20, which, if I can quote myself accurately, I said would suck balls on our Rogue pod 2 weeks ago. 1 to 20 was always going to suck shit, but damn did it suck more than I expected it to.
Right.
It was genuinely woeful. Like, I had been practicing, like, leveling routes and all that kind of shit on hardcore, and like Rogues get an extremely powerful dagger at level 10 when you shouldn't really get it until level 12, and even with that dagger it was still alright, I just got to go fight shit 2 levels below me.
Yeah, Warrior 1 to 20 was the exact same. And I know a lot of people would say to us, maybe not so much for the Rogues, but a lot of people would say like, mate, that's how it usually fucking goes. Have you not played vanilla before? But like, just with the bells and whistles of Season of Discovery, I was sort of half expecting a little bit of a different experience, and that power just didn't come online until much later.
In my opinion, it was genuinely worse than vanilla, and I'm going off the basis that we all just played Classic. I reckon I died more times between 1 and 20 than I ever died 1 to 60 on my Classic era Rogue leveling. Because the world got scaled up. A funny example that comes straight to mind is, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Poison Quest, but the Poison's Quest has notoriously always been extremely difficult to do at level 20, yet alone level 22, solo.
Yep.
That mob's out in the world. I don't really know how they implemented their world scaling, whether it was just a slidey bar, but he got the slidey bar treatment and he was 3-shotting Rogues that were trying to do it solo, where it was genuinely impossible. The real kicker is, all right, we'll group up, and Ambush will always remove about 40% of his HP. So if there's 2 Rogues there, you almost can just delete him with an Ambush. He only drops 1 of his head per Rogue, so then you have to stand there for 10 minutes and get your Rogue buddy that just helped you his head. There might have been 8 fucking Rogues in that tower, but like when I got there was 4, but I was ahead of the curve. My Rogue friends that are playing were like, there is like an hour and a half queue to get this Goblin's head because there is just 15 Rogues sitting in a tower and only 1 can get his head at a time. But they all have to commit to stay and help each other. Otherwise, whoever's last like sucks eggs. Yeah. So that was just one little tiny oversight that I think might have happened with the world scaling
and I
thing.
think you've just reminded me just to say the respawn timers on named quest mobs in general was actually pretty piss poor. So Blizzard, I think they said something about that. They do deserve a kick in the ass for that one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in hindsight, it's a funny memory. I took like 5 screenshots up there of just 6 Rogues sleeping, waiting for this Goblin to reappear. Like, it's funny now, but at the time, it's one of those people were a bit grumpy about.
Sorry, one sec, Alenia, you were going to say something?
Okay, I'll back Ubiquitous up on that. I have spent the last week listening to Mike molding over his rogue. He's an experienced rogue player as well, so there's definitely something not quite right there.
It's a little funny because like the desperation to get poisons because we were so weak without them led a lot of rogues down a torturous path where you're not supposed to get them at 20, like the quests are that hard, but they were just so fucking desperate that they were just pushing through, like dying over and over trying to get them so that we could start killing things.
Do you know what the problem is though, Ubiquitous? It's the fact that rogues have no friends. That's why you're struggling having to do it solo.
There's just us and us. Like that's why all the rogues were helping each other do things. So
no one else wants to help you.
Honor amongst assholes.
Yeah, that's it for sure.
So, mate, now that you went through the struggle, tell us about the glory days of 25 on a rogue.
It's been pretty good. I did mention, I think the very last thing I was listening to were people saying like, I've just been playing and having fun. I'm firmly in that camp, even though I'm like the biggest tryhard on Wrath and shit. In this, I'm just having fun, and the numbers wise, you can play anything you want on rogue, and all of them look relatively competitive, and we're in a good spot where you're ahead of the average DPS at the moment. But yeah, it's pretty fun to play. No real complaints. I mean, they already went over the tank stuff, but personally, I think would be pretty garbage tanks in BFD, even though some people might have rolled to tank. We'll be a good boss tank, but the trash and stuff would just be horrendous at the moment. But that's probably a chat for the next rogue ep.
All right, mate. Were you happy with the changes that they've had so far? Sorry, I'm not sure if you said that just there, but like they obviously had a couple of things buffed. I think it was. So you've had the change where you might have mentioned the poison stacking and whatnot. But personally, do you feel like they're on it with Rogue?
Yeah, that was they changed Deadly Brew. There was a problem where and Saber Slash. So pretty much you couldn't run two rogues in a raid, and there's heaps of us around and we're good DPS, but we would just overlap each other's dots or it wouldn't work or something like that. I didn't get to raid with a second rogue, but I am in a couple of hours. It's not a buff to rogues individually. Like every rogue will still do the same damage. It's just now the two of us can play in the same raid. So no one can really say it's a buff to rogue. It's just a genuine quality of life thing for the player base as well. Because maybe, who knows, just hate us, you might actually want more than one of us in your raid at some stage.
All right. Any other classes anyone's dabbled with? All I can say about Warlock is, like I said, I've got a Warlock to 13. It feels very strong. Chaos Bolt is absolute insanity. It does sort of normalize a little bit when you get to about level 12, level 13, but it's still very strong. They feel great. They're very strong for a reason. They're very popular for a reason. Haven't tried tanking obviously yet, but I've asked a Warlock tank how it feels. They said it felt great. Mana issues are there, but they're easily solvable. Have you guys had much to do with, have you inquired much of any Warlock tanks, of how it drives? No, that's all right.
I helped a friend get his meta, and I think he tanked half a BFD or something, and he did say it was working. It was working for him.
It's fun.
Yeah. You go, sorry.
I was going to say, BFD, we had a Warlock tank, and no, they were quite tanky and a little squishy. They did say one of the biggest issues they were running into was people not being used to having to wait for them to get mana.
Right. I tanked BFD with a Warlock, and I don't feel like we waited for his mana once. He seemed to manage it pretty well, and he was like fucking, again, I had shit gear, but I had a few blues and stuff, but he was fucking ripping threat off me pretty easily and pretty handily. It was really noticeable where I was like, all right, I've got this one. And he's like, fucking watch this. They hit very hard and they're threat hungry. So that was a good thing. So that's why I sort of...
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I didn't feel like we were waiting for his mana. So I guess he was just being particularly self-conscious about it. And he held and grabbed threat really well.
Yeah. So I basically decided on the spot when I saw that Warlock raiding with us. I was like, all right, I'm fucking rolling a Warlock. I was on the fence. I was on the fence about having one, and then I saw the tank being actually quite decent. I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. But
could be a case like shaman tanks. Like half of them were saying we are the best tanks in the world, and the other half were saying we have such shit mana. And it turns out that half were just using way too many abilities. Like they were just pressing everything all the time.
Yeah, there's definitely a
The
line.
believers and the dreamers.
Yeah, you gotta, if you want to top the meters, you're gonna probably have to drink after every pool, but you definitely don't need to press a button every time it's up. But you can, but then you're gonna be fucked on mana unless you get the god block roll on like 5 mobs in a row.
Yeah. I had a.
That's what
have
we
you been
talked about,
doing
Josh.
this?
That's that perfect balance with they nailed the horizontal. It's like everyone thinks, oh, it's vertical, and that's why they spam abilities. But then the mana will cut you off. It's like, no, you've done your spam. You've done your power. Now you're capped. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I said they fucking nailed it, man.
Yeah, we kind of determined we had 2 shaman tanks for our BFD that we did, and we kind of basically said, all right, how much health do you have? How much armor do you have? And I actually had lower armor and health than the other guy, but I had more int, so I could press more buttons, so I could do more damage. So it ended up working pretty well overall. So it's, again, you just have to find what's comfortable for you, and that just leads to gearing a bunch of different ways. You can do a more mana efficient build, stack int and press more buttons, or you can be a little bit more tanky. I'm not going to say Fury Prod. I'm sure some people will be out there dual wielding Rockbiter and tanking, and that's akin to the Fury Prod shaman tanking, I'm sure. But it feels very fun.
I had a shaman tank in the guild do Dead Mines with a Scally, and it was amazing. It was like a speed run, and I sort of said to him like, "Wow, fuck, you're really strong," and we're pumping this. And he's like, yeah, the secret to shaman tanking is because of the way the block and the mana return works, is you've actually you're rewarded and encouraged to go big or go home. And it's like, you've got to do the big pulls. It's like, don't grab the 1 pack, grab the 2 or the 3. And that's when you're never waiting for mana for your shaman tank.
Yeah, you definitely find that balance where it's like, I really don't want to tank one thing. So you're always kind of almost always pooling. I like to grab a mob and just let it run with me when doing like, a lower level dungeon like Dead Mines at 25. You can definitely go big.
Yeah.
Well, it's also how shaman's always been, the front load. You go in there, grab your big pack, front load it, get the threat. But since you're not really getting threat ripped off you, at that point, you kind of can rest back and let the mana 5 go until you need to. So it kind of can reward you for doing stuff like that.
Well, I'm really excited to try it. Like I've done the Warlock first now, but I have the Shaman as well, like I said. But it'll basically be Warrior, Shaman, and Warlock for me. I've thrown away the Hunter, I think, for Phase 1. But look, I mean, like it looked very like Final Fantasy 14-esque, where you tank runs through, gathers a whole bunch of mobs, like 3-4 packs or whatever, like 3 packs, let's say. And then they just get to a spot, gather them all up, hit that Molten Blast. Now they've 1 button push, they've got threat on everything. And it's just a requirement that the other 4 people in the party know what's going down. So no one, touches anything that's running towards the tank till his stop point or whatever. Like it felt familiar territory for me.
Yeah, it's really nice because you won't pull everything all at once. So say there's like a group of 3 or 4, you go in, you Molten Blast, let them hit you for the lightning shield. Then you can run on to the next one, do the same thing. If you run and pull 10 at the same time, you're going to have an issue, right? Because Molten Blast only hits 4. The only thing that hits everything is going to be Fire Nova Totem. And if you don't have aggro on that, on the mobs, they're just going to pop that the moment you drop it down. So you kind of like gather packs of 3 to 4.
Oh,
so
does Molten Blast only hit 4? I didn't realize.
It does. Yes.
Oh, and what's the cooldown on it?
It's 6 seconds, but your Flame Shock can reset it. So you'll Flame Shock, pick a new target, Flame Shock that, have 2 running at the same time, and hope you can just keep pressing it. But then, if you're not blocking, you're not getting your mana back, so then you're going to get fucked on mana. So it is very fun. It is, and I will say, you can organically get all 3 of your tank runes by level 12.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's cake.
I'll have to try it out for sure. Well, look, guys, we'll really start to wind this one up. We won't be able to talk about all the classes. We'll have to get people on the next one on classes that we haven't discussed yet. But there's some good early impressions out there. Look, everyone, Tariak, I might get you to sort of lead us out with this one when I just sort of say in general, if it wasn't obvious enough from everything we've discussed over the last 2.5 hours, are you happy with this game after the first week? Would you recommend it to a friend? Is it good? Is it bad? Tell me what you think are the winners of this game, if any, so far, Tariak.
Like, I think, like I said, it's just they've captured that lightning in the bottle, which is like, I thought it was going to be okay. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of fun, but like maybe like it's better than some, you know, like kind of, but like the obviously something's going to go wrong. You know what I mean? It's like there's the whole kind of thing of like there's too many complications. They're eventually going to get sloppy, or something's going to break, or something like that. But like I said, I'm kind of like speechless to how kind of good it is. And like I said, in terms of like recommendations, it's like it's genuinely that kind of that classic, but with more content. They're just slowly rolling it out and making sure that it's like this is the right feeling, the right things, because there is so many niches to it.
Well, mate,
like I explained with the.
I asked you a couple of hours ago to maybe file away one or two of your more favorite design things that you've seen in the game so far. What's got you squealing, you know, at this point that you haven't been able to talk about yet?
Like, just in terms of the paladin kind of like gameplay, where like in a group, it's like all of those issues that you would kind of like have playing classic era, or those kind of like, if only I just got like had that bit of extra mana, or I had a bit of mana regen, but it's all kind of like layered in, where when you're in the group, all those issues are solved. But if you go back to the solo mode and you don't have that power, your mana bar, you still have to be very conscious of your mana. How are you, like, what is your rotation when you're pulling mobs out in the open world is completely different to what you're doing in the groups. Very similar to what you were just talking about with the shaman. It's like you almost have to go hard to go home, because you need to take the damage in order to. So if you get too tanky as a paladin, your mana regen goes to shit in the group, so you have to do bigger pulls. So it's like all these kind of little niches in it. It's just been there's like so many ways that it could have went wrong, but they've just absolutely fucking perfectly nailed it. Like, you know.
All right.
And it's not just with me as a paladin. It's like we talked about the shaman, like the whole thing, but even with the warrior as well. It's like that whole thing of the 1 to 20 struggle. It's like Rocky Balboa. It's like you get the shit knocked out of you, but then you still keep getting back up. You keep getting those levels, and then eventually you hit like Nirvana. You hit that high where it's like God mode. It's like Berserker. You're just fucking, you know. It's like that classic warrior kind of aspect to it. You know what I mean?
It's a miniaturized version of the 1 to 60 journey.
100%, and like I said, it's completely nailed in that aspect of like the horizontal to the vertical, because they could have easily just given the warrior abilities where it's like 1 to 20 is a breeze, and it's like nobody's complaining, everybody's just busted kind of thing. But they've done it in such a perfect way where, yeah, it's a pain in the arse, but it's earned. Every single level is earned, and then you get that reward at the end, and it's such a satisfying feeling. Same way as the rank 14 grind, where it's like you get that gear, and then you have like you're showing it off in Ironforge or wherever, that it's like head to toe, gold plated, all that kind of thing. And it's that whole thing of like, this effort that I've put in is not just going to be undone. The next phase from a power spiker is not going to be undone. Like if you want this, you have to do what I've done, which is, you know, hours grinding, you know.
Very good. All right, guys, look, we'll finish on this one last question. I'm going to, Tim's here. We'll close out in the next 5 to 10 minutes. I just want to ask you all one very important question. Let's call this fucking, you know, criticism corner. We've just fucking absolutely slathered this game and the devs in praise for 2.5 hours. It's fucking been ridiculous. What are the constructive criticisms? Well, complaint corner, let's call it. What are constructive criticisms you want to throw out there while Tim is intently listening in right now? Give me something good. Give me something that the team could actually look at, as opposed to like, I can't one-shot someone on my fucking mage or something. Who wants to start?
I think they've heard us pretty thoroughly about the supplies, a bit of back and forth on that. I do just think it's not particularly enjoyable. I'm literally on a taxi right fucking now, flying to a city to hand in a supply that I only just flew down to Camp T to get. I walked 50 yards. I happened to find a chest that spawned right in front of me. It's given me a supply crate, and I am just, it's why I can talk in this chat. I've got nothing else to do. I'm just sitting on the taxi, half my gameplay at the moment, but it's getting the rep done. I just feel like it could be less taxi rides, and just nerf the rewards so that I mean, I'd rather run to Crossroads on foot 10 times than fly to Org 3 times. Like,
I think your
something
idea.
like that,
I think your idea before was brilliant because, like you say, it's you shouldn't be getting this rep necessarily by frequent flyer miles. But your idea of, all right, look, if we understand that the timing is important and we don't just want to hand the players things, then let us stack more boxes but nerf the rep. I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Yeah. As much as you wanted us to just bash them, I'm going to say that probably literally everything that I've ever heard anyone complain about thus far would have been solved with a PTR. And in my book, it was completely worth no PTR to still go through these little great bumps that we're getting. Because we just get to talk about it. They've been fast to fix half of them. This is a much better experience than the whole Discovery getting ruined. But, you found out that maybe some people love how the crates do, but you found out that some people don't like how they work. This little inconvenience is bloody worth it for no beta, no PTR.
100%.
So I don't think that's worth it.
You take the no PTR option every day and twice on fucking Tuesdays. You know what I mean? Whatever the fucking saying is.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get specific. Let's get niche. Tim has said his listening has intensified, whether it be with your class or a system or something in the world. What is a very specific criticism of yours in relation to SOD? Who else wants to go next?
Could the Oceanic Realms please have daytime during Oceanic daytime hours?
Oh, I didn't notice. Is that a thing?
It's a thing.
How did I never notice that? We
look up, man.
Yeah, so we get nighttime during our fucking daylight hours.
We do. It would be really nice if we could actually see the sun, please, Debs.
The mole people in Oceania. I love it. Okay, there you go.
I hadn't noticed that either, to be honest, as being a heathen. Never looking up at the sky.
Very good, very good. All right, Gally, can you think of anything?
I honestly can't. The daytime thing made me laugh because the round that I play on is on mountain time, and what the hell is that? Like, I mean, I'm on the East Coast, so I'm used to that. Or PST, which is 3 hours. Mountain time's 2. So, that's my only complaint. No, I have no complaints. Everything's been great. I took a week off work. It's been fucking amazing. I've been having a blast. I'm back to work tomorrow, which I'm very sad about. But seriously, 10 out of 10. So much fun. This has revitalized World of Warcraft, in my opinion. And this is from someone who's been playing Classic since the beginning, went through TBC, went through Wrath, still raiding in Wrath. This has been awesome.
I've got the school ties meme in my head right now, Gally Boy, of me standing outside in the rain screaming at you at the window, coward! Like, fucking no complaints. All right, 10 out of 10. Fair enough. All right. But I say that while I'm struggling to think of a complaint as well. Tariak, have you got one?
Like I said, I mean, there's nothing I can. Like I said, it exceeded expectation. This is the lightning bottle. This is we are in very interesting times because it's like I said, WoW is literally back. It's back, guys. It's fucking back.
We're back, baby.
We're back. Rollo, how about you?
The only thing I would have would be some sort of adjustment with rage costs when it comes to warriors and trying to do thunderclap. Just because we want to use that rune, we want to be able to tank. We want to be able to do something to keep the threat off all these new abilities that everybody has. I think doing something either we're making the rune has like thunderclap costs a lot less because I know they're not going to increase our rage generation, but having to where we're able to use this stuff quicker. Also with Devastate, I know it rewards you for how many stacks you get, but we're not always going to have just one target while we're doing these dungeons, except for the boss fight. And a lot of the with classic and stuff is clearing these groups before the bosses. So I don't know if maybe having Devastate be able to do like a small cleave or something, but be able to do something to where warriors are still able to. It's mostly just the tanking side. Just be able to get in there and be able to, because I do enjoy doing dungeons and tanking and stuff as a warrior right now. There's just no point, and everybody just rips right off you because of these new things, which I think are great, no complaints. But there should be something where we're a warrior class, even though we get great later down the road. I still want to be able to level warrior, go to Wailing Caverns or Dead Mines and actually build a tank.
I know
so something there.
I know you literally just addressed the now for it, but one thing that popped into my head when you said that about Devastate doing a cleave in Wrath, one of the glyphs, when you applied Devastate, it does it to the target next to it. So it does do that. So it's not like that's something that's not in the game. And I was going to say, oh, maybe that will be something down the road, but
it's just something because like
now.
Yeah, when we charge in, like I said, we don't have the rage to do the thunderclap. By the time we even get to it, if things aren't hitting us, we're not going to get there. And by that point, everybody's ripped it off of us. So it becomes more frustrating. And especially with new players and stuff, they're a warrior. They want to grab the board and sword or sword and board and whatever and go in there. And it's just not possible. So I think just doing something as part of a tweak, just be able to make it, throughout the leveling and stuff, be able to, because we're going to be dealing with this as we level up. Everybody's going to keep getting stronger. But be able to have and use those abilities on trash and stuff and not just so specific to the one single tanking boss.
I'll say a couple of things as I've thought of mine while you guys have been going. So thank you for buying me some time. My two, one of mine doesn't count, so I'll do two because mine first one doesn't count because they're already doing it. I harped on about it before, just the graveyard thing in Ashen Vale, but also it extends to, Stranglethorn Valley and whatever other zones, Stranglethorn Valley, what am I talking like? Stranglethorn Valley High, whatever zones you're doing as, the quote unquote war zones, the open world PvP zones in the future as well. Like, I personally, and I'm happy to be shouted down because I'm not a game designer, I don't think of this shit, but like I personally think it doesn't break the game if 4 of the zones in the game get turned into just zones that are riddled with graveyards. Like, I don't care if there are fucking 10 graveyards in Ashen Vale. Like, there's a reason that, BGs have a random number between 1 and 30 that you'll wait to respawn. There's a reason that FPS games get you straight back in the fight straight away. People don't like to be sidelined if they're going to basically take part in a mass PvP style gameplay. There's a lot of running involved in Ashen Vale, so running to my body, rezzing, hoping there's no one around, and then running wherever I've got to go next feels bad a little bit at this stage. So like, I know you guys are doing this already, but like, I would almost say, like, I hope the fix isn't just, here's 2 more graveyards. Like, fucking pepper the zone with graveyards. I don't think anyone's going to get upset. That's just me personally. The second one I was going to say, so no, if I'm way off, shout me down. Tell me.
Oh, no, I thought you'd finish. I was going to say the graveyard issue in Ashen Vale was massive, and I'm just glad that we haven't got them yet, I don't think, but they're on the ball, so it'll come soon. Just that run back was so shit.
Oh yeah, and sorry, Cryos is saying, I know the BG timer isn't random, but when you die, unless you got the add-on, you generally don't know what number you're going to see for how long it's going to be until you can res again. So that's what I mean with like the random nature of how long is it going to be until I get back in the fight. But the second point I was going to say was regarding the professions. I'm a big gatherer. I think Tim knows I fucking love gathering. I'm not sure. I hope there's more coming online later on for mining and herbalism. I've seen the old like, oh, hey, I got an elemental earth in this fucking wild steel bloom or whatever. I don't know, just one elemental earth every fucking 40 gathers doth butter no parsnips for me. So I fucking hope there's a bit more to it than that. Do any of you guys have anything on the professions?
I love, as far as I'm aware, they did do the sneaky on us with the whole level 26 thing. I love that they did that. That was because, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a full day into the season, and someone was like, "Wait a fucking second, I can't go to 225," and then it just spread like wildfire.
Oh, it's brilliant!
And immediately, like you could hear the burning of just Bislis all over fucking.
You should have seen me at home, like tweaking my nipples when I found out about that.
Yeah,
every fucking YouTube guide gone.
It's I'll keep it to like a 20-second tangent, but it's, in hindsight, it has made me realize why the BlizzCon panel was so bland, because finding that out on day one was 10 times cooler and gave us way more joy than if they had announced then and there that was like a feature of the game. Like, oh, you can't, like, it would have added nothing to the panel, but it added a lot to launch day to find that out and go, oh yeah, we wasted so much time with these stupid Bislis on YouTube and shit. So I thought that was really cool. And in hindsight, they have really gone with just play the game and find all the cool shit we did. We're not going to tell you everything on this BlizzCon panel. And lo and behold, there was 50 times more shit than what they told us on the BlizzCon
Can we all pledge to remember this for the next season when all this shit happens again? I know it's fun, and I feel bad because, like, even, you know, it's almost like the fucking self-hating content creator thing. But, like, I get it from the content creator's perspective, and I've been an advocate to a certain extent of this in the past, where it's like, fuck, man, we're just having fun. Can you just we're just trying to speculate, have a bit of fun, and there's nothing wrong with speculation and fun. But, like, I feel like there is like a crossing of the line where it's like, we're just doing this for clicks now off unknown information. We're not having fun anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That was definitely the case.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many we were getting pumped out. But anyway, that's it, guys. Look, we might wind it up there. Anyone, final point, speak now, forever hold your signs before we go.
Specifically on Rogue, sorry to be selfish and take all the time. You can't refresh Blade Dance with lower combo points, even if it's going to refresh it to a higher duration, allegedly. I pinged the Rogue Discord asking for anyone's gripes, and they're saying that is a massive ball ache. So that's like one of our tanking abilities. But it will not let you refresh it until it has completely fallen. But that goes against Rogue class design, where you like to plot ahead with your points and energy expenditure.
Ouch.
Just because you wanted me to be specific about something.
No, very good. I love it. There you go, straight from your mouth to Blizzard's ears. Everyone, it has been an absolute delight catching up with you all today. Thank you to all the callers. I'll say goodbye to you all now. And thank you to everyone who had to duck out earlier, who couldn't stick around. You are the very lifeblood of this show. Galley Boy, my friend, thank you so much. And mate, anything to plug?
You can occasionally see me streaming on Twitch at Galleyboy, and I will take you up on the offer, hopefully tomorrow, to do the Murloc dance with beer in hand.
Yes, do it. GALLEYBOI. Go and check him out, everyone. Tariak, I love you. My blossoming, like, you know, fawning over you is my favorite part of late 2023. Mate, anything to plug? Thank you so much for being here again.
Absolute pleasure being here, Josh. Thanks for having me as always. I have my YouTube channel. Bases have a couple of memes on there at the moment, but I will be revamping my shotgun guide for SOD as well. It's a nice twist on paladin tanking where you go deep holy. It's kind of similar to like the Fury prop build or kind of like design that you want to go for. So stay tuned for that.
Very good. That's Tariak, Tareyyak. Go check him out, everyone. Alenia, mate, thank you so much. Anything to plug?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's been fun today. I'm not going to plug my own stream. I will plug the fact that the WoW Variety Show is going to be streaming on the 9th. It will be very early September 10th, very early on the 10th for us Australians. And they will be hosting some fun and games. The race to kill Hogger. In hardcore, and then there'll be a Black Fathom Deep's celebrity run of 4 10-person teams, followed by a Magora Madness in hardcore, following up on the race to Hogger. If you guys want to watch that, it'll be on twitch.tv/Warcraft, their main channel.
Very good. I'll plug your channel for you. Alenya11, ALENYA11, everyone over there on Twitch. Look, like we said, she was world third to 25. Alenya does not fuck around when it comes to WoW Classic. She's a fucking beast at this game. Go and watch her streams. She's been a friend of this show since almost day dot. So thank you so much, Alenya. Hey, who have we got here? Rolo. We got two newbies to go out with who have been just fucking gem additions to the Countdown to Classic community. Rolo, mate, thank you so much. Anything to plug, mate?
No plugs. I'm on Wild Growth with Galley. My Warriors Mev, MEV. Drop a high, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Been great to have you, mate, and ubiquitous, mate. Same goes out to you. Fucking, you know, a lot of these first time, long times popping up out of the weeds over the last couple of months, and the people that have just been fucking amazing. You know, they fit in so well with the show. Brilliant callers with brilliant constructive thoughts, and mate, you're one of the fucking shining stars as far as I'm concerned, ubiquitous. So thank you so much, mate. Anything to plug?
Not really. I'm shamelessly waist deep in the Discord because I just like talking about the game. Find me on Simon's Discord if you do want to see Rogue gameplay. I just stream for raid review reasons, but if you do want to see Rogue gameplay, you can find me on there.
Very good. All right, guys, we'll take it out there. Stick around 1 second.